Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Alexiot's here on Saturday morning. Once again, another disappointing morning after the game last night against the New York Knicks here in Toronto that we lost. This is the first time the New York Knicks have won in Canada since 2015. And I hate saying that. This streak that we had against them on this side of the border was really good. And we just, you know what, man, it's just a very difficult time to be a Raptor fan right now. And this is where we really got kind of suss out the people who really are committed to loving and supporting this team and the people that are kind of like just want to be assholes. Because there's a lot of this going on. It's really getting bad now at this point. And I say we just hunker down. We're the Raptor Freaks. We take care of this team and we love them. We're going to watch them and support them no matter what. And that's all that matters. We can't control what every single fan in our fan nation is going to do. And they're going to say some crazy out-of-pocket, crazy shit right now. That's just how it is because the team is very, very much struggling and there's a lot of problems. Now, if I could put my finger on one main thing that was the problem last night is one of the things that the Raptors have struggled with this season is really understanding that the outcome of the game is really set up throughout the whole entire game. That during the game there's a deficit in points. There's one team is up and over the other one and there's a point differential. There's a deficit in points, but there's also a deficit in other things like confidence and momentum, different things like this that is unspoken about in the game that does really affect also the deficit with the points. And part of the problem is the Raptors are not just building a deficit in points while the game is going on. They're building a deficit of like inconfidence, of hesitation, of not competent. It's like you have to have a competency level also on the court so that you're competent and you can do the things like score baskets. And when there's a deficit in that makes it really hard. This is a lesson they were learning back in September of this year or October of the beginning of the season. The whole idea that, if you can have a close game and you just barely lose the game at the end, well, you lost the game in the first quarter. You lost the game in the second quarter. You lost the game in the third quarter, not at the end. And we've seen in the last two games, this hurry up and do as much as possible in the last 5 minutes of the game to try and still come back and win. Well, fuck that shit, Raptors. You're not doing enough to build towards that in the middle of the game, at the beginning of the game. And, you're not doing enough things at important times. Every little thing that happens the whole entire game adds up to who wins and loses. And meanwhile, the first three quarters of the game, you're doing all kinds of things that make it harder for you to win at the end by building a deficit in competency, a deficit in ability to score and things like that. That these things add up, and then at the end, you're just going to try and scramble and win the game at the end. Well, your chances aren't very good because you didn't do the things throughout the whole entire game to build towards reaching and grabbing that W right at the very end. That there's no good platform for you to launch off of from because your platform is so shaky that you can't get things competently done in certain times during the game. And every single part of the game adds up to who wins. And y'all could have a deficit of so much incompetency in certain ways on your offense that it's just impossible for you to just go crazy and overcome it at the very end. And I hate that. I hate that so much. But listen, these are late stage signs of getting it back together also. That you have close margins of loss, but they really have to do with not playing well throughout the whole entire game. Well, that is a team that's very close to winning again. Honestly, that is the sign of it. If you go through the whole pattern of a team that rebuilds and having to build back up and get back to it, well, that is a late stage getting back on the right side of winning. And I like that in a way, because that is a sign that they are close. They're close. And we may have seemed like we've been saying this for 2 months. Oh, they're this close to figuring it out and getting back on the right side of winning. But these last two games really are that sign. Because in some ways, Nick can say, look, if we had just done better at this point, at this point, at this point, it would have been way easier to try and come back right at the very end. So there's some encouraging signs. Of course, this sucks. We lost to the Knicks in Toronto for the first time in 7 years. And I hate that. I hate that a lot. We're losing different records in the last couple of years between Tampa and this year. We're going to lose all our great streaks that we've had in our franchise for a few years now. And, in some ways we're restarting them. We're going to have to restart a lot of franchise kind of streaks of winning over certain teams and things. And we need to start doing it soon. But man, this season, I don't know what to say at this point. I think that, we can't really do enough. Like what's happening right now is we're only getting like 2 good quality players a game. At the beginning of the season, we'd have like maybe 5 guys that played really well. But right now, it's really only 2. It'll be like Gary and Fred, like last night, or it'll be Pascal and Gary the night before, or it'll be like OG and Fred one night, and then nobody else. Nobody else. It's like, what is going on, Raptors? Why are we only getting 2-barrel shotguns that 2 guys can do good and have fantastic games, and nobody else does absolutely anything? Whether it's on the bench or 3 starters are just kind of duds for the night. Like, that's a real problem right there. Like, you're not getting the best out of your players, Nick, in some ways. And don't get me wrong, y'all. When I criticize these people, I do not want them fired. I do not want Masai fired. I do not want Bobby fired. I do not want Nick fired. I do not want Fred traded. I do not want Pascal traded. I do not want anybody traded. I do not want anybody fired. I want them to figure this shit out on their own and get it done. That's these, you know what? In some ways, that's the best way to get through things. Sometimes making an easy fix by trying to go find something easy, like, oh, let's just go get another player, fix everything. That's bullshit. Sometimes the best way to fix your problems is to look at them head on and deal with them with who you got right now. And then, you know what? If you all do the work together and figure it out, you know what? You're better and stronger as a unit because you went through that. So in some ways, I really hope we're not knee jerk. Some of these chicken little crazy ass fans, they would like completely burn down the whole franchise today and restart it completely from the bottom. And they're crazy and they're stupid. They are absolutely dumbasses. Yes. And we don't need to listen to them. We need to continue and let this happen as much it is, as much as it's painful, as much as it's stupid and crazy and you hate it. You got to continue to let it happen because this is the painful part that we need to go through to get to that good stuff later. Trust me, it is there. It is there. It's just we have not figured out who we are. We have no identity this year. That's the biggest difference than last year and this year. Last year, we had an identity and we played to it, and we found it very successful when we played to it. We did not establish an identity in the first 20 games of the season, partly because we were very hurt and we had a lot of guys missing. And now we're at a stage in the season where everybody else has got identities on their team and they know what they're kind of working in within their system, and we are very lost. And that's very hard to beat teams that have kind of figured shit out. The Knicks have figured out some things like how they like to do things, and they have kind of roles, and they kind of have a system that is doing what they want to do. We don't have any of that right now. And that's a big, huge detriment to go against teams that have figured out their identity. And that's a big part of what's going on right now. We may just have a no identity year this year. The team just doesn't have an identity. We're just going to be who we are, and it's going to be bad. And boom, I don't know. We get a good draft pick, and we have a new premium draft young player coming in this year. That we're not going to lose either way. And even though we're losing games right now, any Raptor fan can have this attitude that we have, that there's no lose scenarios that we are in as a Raptors franchise. We'll have a better time this season. Trust me. Just understand that the winning is at the end. It's very much just like Masai Ujiri saying something like, we got Scottie, so we won Tampa season. So think this way, that like, don't give yourself a loss in your mind or an L because the team's so bad right now and they continue to lose. Think about the good things about it. Think about the flip side. And don't get all crazy and be like, woo, Wemby sweepstakes. Woo, Wemby. We still want to win and we want to be winners. But always know that there's another side to losing, that you do actually win in a way because you can get a better draft pick at some point. All right, Monique is here first in. Good morning, everyone. I said it once and I'll say it again. Some fans think it's the end of the world. How many games are left? In Masai We Trust. Go Raptors always. The comments I tell you everywhere. Yeah, Monique, one of the things you might want to do is just take a step back. Because I know that you're very sensitive to this stuff and you really care about the Raptors and you want to stand up for them and do things that, to stand up in their honor. Well, I would just advise you, maybe this is a time for us to just cut out the noise just like the players would. And Fred's actually really funny in the last day or so. He's defiant. He's like, y'all really care? This is what he kind of said in the interview after the game. Oh, y'all really care about me. Oh, it's so nice that y'all care about me. Yeah, it's like he's being sarcastic and he doesn't really give a shit, is what he's saying, as far as like whether the reporters care about him when they ask him questions about his game and how he struggled and stuff like that. Oh, you really care? He's like, yeah, I don't really give a shit if you care or not. It's nice that you care, but I don't care. You care. It really is kind of funny. He's kind of thumbing his nose towards the critics, the people that bring him down. And what he's saying is part of what the extended JJ Reddick interview with him this week was very interesting. I get this feeling like this. Listen, they talked to Fred about in the last 2 years since they interviewed him before. He's got a lot of accolades since he got on the All-Star team. He got his big point game against Orlando. He's had all this good stuff happen to him. And JJ asked him, he's like, how do you stay hungry? How do you stay hungry and keep going after you've accomplished so much and gotten so far? And he says, this isn't enough for me. I expect myself to do this well. I'm super hard on myself. And even when I do well, that's just what I expect. And then he said something like, listen, he was slighted all at every place because of his height, because they didn't think he was good enough. And that drove him a lot. Well, you know what? In some ways, all you stupid ass fans that are critical of Fred, you're driving him right now. Yeah. All you people that are hating on Fred, saying all this shit. Well, you're the same people that didn't think he should be drafted. You're the same people that thought he was too small and not good enough to do the different things he's doing. You guys are the new level of problems for him that makes him want to overcome. So thank you in a way for being assholes to Fred, because you know what? You feed his fire. You make him want to go out there and kick so much ass and make you look bad. And in some ways, that's really good. And that is part of what brings and drives him still. He doesn't get comfortable because obviously he's hearing the noise and he's saying, you know what? I want to prove all you motherfuckers wrong. And I love that about Fred. You go, Fred. He had a good game last night. Honestly, last night, first star of the game, Fred VanVleet, he did shoot 9 for 21. His shooting woes are still there, but he was doing different things in different ways last night that I really like. And he is really kind of like reclaiming the point guard role in the last 2 games. 7 assists for him last night, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block, a plus 10. He was our highest plus. So that means he was doing a lot of good things for us. 28 points, 3 of 9 from 3-point range, 7 of 9 at free throws. Yeah, Fred, our number one star. He needs these games, but why can't we have all of those guys going? Especially if we're not going to get any bench scoring. We need the starters to all score a lot. And it's just not happening. They're not hitting on all cylinders in different ways. Gary Trent Jr. is my second star of the game. 27 points, 500 shooting, 50% shooting, 8 of 16. That's fantastic. 4 of 8 from 3, 7 of 8 at the free throw line. It's funny they scored all the free throws because they just expect Gary to make them. And then they had to go back and take a free throw back because he actually missed one of the 3 that he shot in a set when he got fouled on a 3-point shot. They just expected him to make all 3, so they just gave him all 3. But then they checked it and it was like, oh, he actually missed one of the 3, so they had to take a point off the board. There was a lot of weird stuff like that with stepping on lines and changing things around. And then Mark Davis, I think there's a really funny tweet of Mark Davis from Raptors Report last night saying Mark Davis calling his own foul call successful, and it's Obama putting a Medal of Freedom on Obama. And I thought that was pretty funny. The refs were pretty manipulative and kind of full of shit. There was a lot of bias with the foul calls as far as we weren't getting foul calls because there was a lot of contact with us near the basket. And they were giving some pretty touchy kind of little piddly calls the other way and putting the Knicks on the line. And there was other stuff they did that was kind of fucked up. But they weren't too horrible. They could have been way worse. But the refs were not totally fair. They were kind of fucked up. I didn't like how they let us get roughed up so much. And meanwhile, it seemed like Randle was getting the line a lot for little piddly touch fouls and shit. So the third star of the game for us was Pascal Siakam. He got a double-double. He did not shoot well. He did not have a good game to me, honestly. 5 turnovers, only 18 points. But he got a double-double, and he did work out there in other ways other than just scoring. So I had to recognize that. So Pascal, 18 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 turnovers, 4 of 14 from the field. Not good shooting by Pascal. And then OG was fine with his shooting, 6 of 12, but he did not take enough shots. Only 13 points is not enough, OG. We need you to score more. 3 steals is great. 9 rebounds is fantastic, and 2 assists, that's okay. Only 1 3-pointer, though. I don't like that, OG. We need more from you. And then Scottie was the other guy. He's just, once again, Scott's getting off to these slow starts where he doesn't do anything, like a lot, like no scoring at all in the first half. And then he tries to catch up late in the game and to do more to help. But last night he wasn't as successful as against Milwaukee, manufacturing points late. He ended up with only 7 points for the whole entire game. 2 of 10 from the field, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, a block, though, also. But yeah, Scott, man, we saw that you could do things down there near the basket right away. Why can't you do this? Why can't we establish you earlier in the game, getting you going? Now, the bench, the only guys of note, we had 6 guys come off the bench. Only 3 of them scored. 9 points for Boucher. I like to see that. 3 of 5 from the field, 3 rebounds. But he was a minus 11, the worst on our team. Precious, 5 minutes last night. That's less minutes than before. That's interesting. I really think Precious needs to play more. I did like that he's kind of mixed in with the starters, and he is kind of seems like he's in with that whole rotation, and he is kind of in a little bit like for sure every game, but he needs to play more than 5 minutes. Koloko, 13 minutes, 2 of 2 from the field, 3 rebounds, 4 points. Now, those are the only 3 guys that scored. Thad Young, Malachi, and Jeff Doughton. Jeff Doughton did get into the game for a second, and I did like seeing that, and I was very happy to see that happen. But once again, no Kem Birch. And Wancho is still getting DMPs right now. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, what is going on with our team is we're just not getting any production. We don't get production from the starters or from the bench at this point. So what are you going to do, Nick? How are you going to kickstart production for the Raptors again? Because there's been times where it's bountiful, where we can see different guys are hitting shots at different times. But right now, nobody's hitting anything on either squad, the starters or the bench. And it's really messed up. You can't win games if you can't make baskets. Can't win games if you're going to have a 6-minute period in the game where you absolutely struggle completely to make anything. You know, you could have the best defense in the world, and it's just not going to work. You know, they were talked about this a lot on the JJ Reddick podcast, how the game's changing, how it's evolving, and how, scoring is going up. And defense is really hard to do because they've changed the rules so much. You can't hand check anymore. You can't do a lot of old classic things that you could do to try and control players. It's very easy to score in the NBA at this point. And that our team build with it being defensive focused and really relying on cutting off people is kind of going against the trend of the NBA trying to open up the offenses and to be like really, really high scoring. So in some ways, this is part of the phenomenon that's going on right now is that our team, well, we played a really, really good defense last year. We had huge success doing this, but the tide is turning in the league as far as offense and the ability to score, and scoring is going up. And we just need, in some ways, we may need to retool our team with better weapons offensively so that we can keep up with the race of offensive scoring. That, maybe building defensively is good in some ways, and you can have it in some ways, but you have to absolutely have drivers that will drive your score up in today's NBA. Because it's getting into scoring races. More often than not, a lot of these games are scoring races. And if you can hold the team from scoring for like 5-6 minutes like we have in the last couple years, a bunch of times actually, then sure, maybe you can have some ability. But the scoring is just so out of control that in some ways we really need better offensive players on our team. That we're not going to be a good team again until we get guys that are really, really good scorers. Like they have a nose for the ball going in the hoop. And it can't be any of this like we're going to develop these guys into scorers. They're athletic dudes, and we're going to develop them into being better shooters. No, we need to have people that are second nature, that they just throw the hoop in. They're kind of people that just like turn away from the basket, throw it up in the air, and it falls through the hoop because they are just such hoopers. So, we got to balance this roster out in some ways. Name is saying, I'm proud of this team for 2 good efforts against playoff teams. That's fucked up. Listen, we'll say that about Milwaukee, but I'm not willing to concede that for the Knicks. Fuck that shit. In some ways last night, they very much were a one-trick pony, one player. I mean, he came out and busted that game open right away. Julius Randle, we're right up on him. And he's bombing 5 threes, getting 19 points in the first quarter. That is really, they have nothing like that during the whole game. They don't win last night. I'm going to tell you that right now. If Julius had not came out and dominated the first quarter, they would not have won the game last night. That he came out and established, I'm going to be the man and the franchise player on the team who's going to win tonight, right in the first quarter of the game. And nobody else on our team really stepped up in a more effective way overall to say, I'm the best player for tonight. Randle was the best player last night, and he did it right away at the beginning of the game. And there was so much more time throughout the whole game for any of the Raptors to step up and be the man in opposition to him, to say, no, my team's going to be the one getting the W tonight because I'm going to step up and put even more up. Some may say, oh, well, Fred had 28. Yeah, but he didn't have it in an efficient, effective way. And that's the difference. Without Randle, they wouldn't have won last night. And I don't think they're a playoff team. I think that they're a play-in team, and they may even fall out. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago or Washington or us even, like if we do really figure things out, puts them out and we get their spot and they're sitting on the outside of the playoffs. The Knicks still, yeah. They may seem like they got good things going, but they're full of shit. They're just like every Knicks team every year. They're going to disappoint the fans and make them feel really shitty by the end of the year. Watch. Yeah, because they're still real close to that. You may think that's a playoff team, but I won't give them that nameless. I'll give Milwaukee that for sure, and I'll probably give Indiana that too, but not New York. No, we can't give them that. Monique's saying JJ Reddick getting so much love from the podcast with Fred. Good to see it. Post-game interviews Fred and Chris had to the locker was wholesome after the game. Joe Weiskamp, so much news. Yeah, we have a new player. Yesterday, the Raptors acquired Joe Weiskamp from Iowa. He's a 6'6", small forward shooter, kind of a good three-point shooter. He described himself as the best shooter in his draft class. That he really does believe that he has a very certain confidence in his shot. And this is what we need in spades right now on our team. Oh my gosh, we need so much confidence. Confident shooter. So you show up. I was hoping he would be in uniform last night and we could get him out there right away last night. Who knows? He may have jump started our offense just because he has some confidence in his shot. So I'm really interested to see Joe show up, and I want to see where he plays. We were talking about this last night on the Facebook chat. Is he going to go to 905 and just do stuff down there, kind of like in the same role, the same place that Champagny was, since he has his roster spot? Or is he going to be able to get a chance on the main roster? It's not like Nick gives anybody a chance anyway. And in fact, that's part of the problem right now is, Nick, you're not giving enough people chances. And maybe you think that playing the highest quality guys on your team is going to get you to the win. I don't think that's true. Think about that Dallas game with Kyle when we won on Christmas, around Christmas that time, that 30-point comeback. The guys you had on the court were not your starters. You had very much your bench guys with Kyle Lowry. And that is who brought you back and brought you home. Sometimes the desire of your bench, the way you've starved them from giving them minutes, is actually way better than the talent and the wherewithal of your starters that you trust so much. That you should never underestimate desire. You should never underestimate hunger to do something and prove something. And maybe you're trying to starve these guys out on the bench to prove something at some point, but you're not doing this effectively because you're not getting results from them. You need to start playing guys more minutes off the bench and stop running your guys to the ground. There's no point in doing it at this point. You're not adding up to wins. This formula doesn't work. So spread it out, and you may actually get better results. If you're playing more of Precious, Jeff Doughton, Cam, Chris Boucher, I don't care if you play Malachi. You don't have to play Malachi, but start playing those other guys, and even Juancho and Thad for sure too. I really like the JJ Reddick interview for a lot of things. Some of it was kind of and I don't like what Fred said at the very end. And I don't think that there's some things about that interview that really pissed me off. But I do like the respect and the friendship between JJ Reddick and Fred VanVleet is very real. I love how real they were talking about how they met when they played each other on the court. That stuff was all fun. And then I really liked how Fred stood up for Pascal being on the All-Star team against JJ's co-host. That, he was standing up for Pascal pretty good there. And I love what he was saying in that. But yeah, a great podcast. Highly recommend watching the Old Man and the Three episode 2 with Fred VanVleet from this week. There's a lot in there. There's some stuff that I don't like. And I don't even know if I won't want to bring it up or talk about it. But there's a lot of stuff that's very interesting and fun to see too. Monique's also saying, look at other teams in the standings. We get out of this eventually. Cheer up, please do it. We stay supporting and positive here. Just stay letting it all out. Don't mind at all. Yeah, listen, I'm honestly, like a lot of people have been saying, numb to this. I think that Tom has said that on the Facebook chat. They're just numb to it at this point. It is going to be what it's going to be. Listen, let's not get it twisted. Listen, I was a Raptors fan at the very beginning when we won 20 games a season and we had Damon Stoudemire, and there was a very much a Barney vibe to our team. And that was hard. We lost a lot. In fact, this is one thing I could say right now that we came so far is I was thinking back to those times when it was so bad, and like how people would make fun of you for being a Raptors fan because they were so bad. You're like, you're a Raptors fan? Seriously? These exist? That's what they used to tell me back in the day when there weren't very many of us. And there weren't very many of us out there, like putting ourselves out there as like, I'm a huge Raptors fan, like the way I am now. I was doing that back then. And like, it was so hard. You get a lot of grief. You didn't have any respect. People kind of laughed at you like you were a joke because you were a fan of this team. Well, it's not like that anymore. We have a genuine respect around the league. And people, when you say you're a Raptors fan at this point, 27 years in, they're like, you know what? They're a good team. They won a championship, and we have kind of a cred now. So if it was so hard back then to be a Raptors fan, I stuck through it. None of these recent fans understand what that time was like. You guys are so spoiled in some ways. Not you guys. I mean the people that I'm talking about. That you don't even understand how disrespected Raptors fans were at a certain time. And I didn't even know if there were anybody that cared as much as I did back then, because I was really on an island. I was like, I really care about the Raptors and winning and very paying close attention to them way back then, even when they were absolutely dreadful and how heartbreaking and awful it was. And now I'm like, I feel better because I have something like y'all, that there's people like Raptor freaks out there, and we found each other, and it's like so much easier to get through this time, not on an island by myself, thinking I'm the only one who gives a shit this much about this team. So there's all kinds of ways that it's way easier now than it was in the 90s, than it was from 2005 to like 2011, when Vince got traded in the Bosch years and the ups and downs of those years. And, the other thing is, listen, and I've heard this a lot on Twitter and seen it in places where people are saying, you guys don't understand what a whole rebuild is really like. We've been so fortunate that everything's been very positive and full of winning, and that some teams take like 5, 6, 7 years to rebuild. And in some ways, I don't expect us to have that long of going through really ups and downs and bad stuff. We're going to figure this out sooner than later. And a lot of the things that are happening is it's a timing thing where we had things figured out, but now we got to go back to the drawing board a bit to reestablish and kind of reconfigure and kind of become a new version of us. That it's like shedding a skin and become a new version of us, but it's not totally smooth. Well, other teams have been doing this for a couple of years now, like the Knicks, like Indiana, like Sacramento. And they're actually finding the spot where they're finding success because they've gone through the difficult transition period of trying to figure out who they are. And they're actually in a point where they're kind of like getting some of the fruits all of a sudden. In fact, this is happening across the league in a lot of teams. That a lot of teams that toiled for a while and had dysfunction because they were trying to figure things out, kind of like our present state, have figured some shit out. That they've gotten to new levels of their rebuild or their retooling, and they are actually like coming up. And that's part of the thing, is that there's a lot of teams that have time to come up right now. There's so many teams that have all of a sudden like switched from last year being kind of like and like not that good to being like competitive and winning kind of style of game. And that's part of it too, is it's a timing thing. That we're hitting a different kind of up and down in the league compared to other teams. Other teams have been kind of down already, and that's why we've been beating them, smacking them around. Well, we're on the down, and these other teams are on their ups. And that's part of the phenomena with why we're losing right now. The things, this Knicks team is better than it was last year, and they would have been beaten if they were the team from last year. Last night. That's how I feel about it. All right, let's keep going. I am sorry. I want to talk a lot, but I definitely want to get to y'all's comments and everything y'all are saying, because this, you guys give me such good insight, and this is going to help us get through this tough time. But like, keep perspective, Raptor fans. This isn't when the Bosch era with the ups and downs and the really disappointing time of that time, and this isn't the Damon Stoudemire era either. This is better than that. And we have it much better. There's way more promise, and we're going to get out of this sooner than later. There's not going to be any kind of like Rockets 6 years of futility rebuilding kind of period for the Raptors. You got to think about it that way. It could be that worse, that you're one of those very bottom teams like the Rockets, and they're just going to be futile. James Harden leaves, and you're not good for like 8 to 10 years. No, there won't be anything like that. And we need to count our lucky stars that we're a better franchise than that. So let's keep it all in perspective in a very intelligent way of looking at the whole big picture. Tom Duke saying, home base, I made it. Whew, they can't touch me here. Go Raptors. I'm also proud of the effort heart as well, especially Fred VanVleet. Tom Duke, have you been running around in the wilds of the internet fighting the good fight as a Raptor freak would against the noise and the bullshit? Woo, yeah, you're back home. Don't worry. They come in here. Yeah, we got them. You come in here and talk to me today, Raptors fan that's cynical and negative and upset about the state of this team. You come and talk to me, and I will do some counseling with you. I will help you out to see the light. I will help you to get off that ledge. I will help you to stop over like feeling this. This is just a game. This is on TV. And in some ways, y'all don't have any control over this at all in any kind of way. So why the fuck would you put yourself in such misery over something you cannot control? This is something that is very key to AA, something that I'm in as an alcoholic. That one of the biggest keys to happiness is realizing what you can and cannot control. That you'll be miserable for your whole life if you put your happiness involved in something that you cannot control. Because when you cannot control it, you can come crashing down at any minute, and it's not in any kind of way for you to control. You have to be able to look at things in your life and say, I can't control this. You absolve yourself of the feelings and the misery and the responsibility of it because it's nothing that you could have controlled. And that's why we need to start thinking this way. This is something that people do. They let people ruin their lives because you let them control your life too much because you can't control what other people are going to do. And maybe they feel like they know they have this power over you, and then they mistreat you, and then you hurt. And that's not what you want. You don't want to give that to other people. You have to have yourself autonomous and say, I control how I feel. I am the one. And you don't let things that you cannot control affect your emotions. And this is a big part of this. I was guilty of this. I lived and died with the Raptors. I used to tell people that I'm like E.T. with that geranium flower. That when E.T. is the team, and when he's sad and he's like dying with the medical stuff all hooked up to him, that flower is wilting. I am that flower that wilts as the team E.T. dies. And I had to detach myself emotionally from this because it was wrecking my life. And there was no point in going through all that misery because I can't fucking control whether they're going to win or lose or not. So it's like, listen, y'all can ride the roller coaster with this team and get real down in the dumps because of the way they are right now, but absolve yourself of it and realize that to be truly happy in your life, you got to understand this one basic rule. Can you control what it is or not? Okay, then if you can't control it, then you absolve yourself of the misery and suffering of it. You just say, I can't control this, and move on. And there you go. That's a coping mechanism for everyone, a life skill for everyone in their own lives, just to be happier. Figure out these situations in your life, and you will be happier immediately once you absolve yourself of the responsibility to feel on something that you cannot control. So there you go. There you go. All right. Let's see. Isaac Campbell's here, and Fred VanVleet we trust, and Masai too. That's right. Freddie, I'm worried. I really am worried. And people are saying all kinds of crazy ass shit, like longstanding people like that have been involved with the team for a long time. People like Doug Smith said some crazy ass shit about Scottie Barnes in a tweet last night. Let me just talk about it real quick. I'm really kind of pissed at him. He said Barnes between the legs, behind the back. Hey, look at me dribbling into a long missed 2-pointer is not NBA caliber offense. And then people on the bottom are saying, Doug's going to run another top lottery pick out of town for the Raptors, alluding to Vince Carter. Yeah, Doug Smith, hold your tongue. We're sick of you, man. Listen, I stood up for you last season when you were out of pocket with Armani Brooks, and I probably shouldn't have. I regret it at this point. Maybe the game has passed you by, and you need to fucking go out to the pasture and just fucking be gone. Seriously, I'm sick of your shit. If Scottie leaves our team some way down the road, yeah, I might be pointing fingers at you in some ways because you're a fucking asshole, and I'm sick of you. His dribble and what he did it is going to work, and it's going to be really good. Do you understand basketball? Like, even if you don't make these moves, it's really, really great that he has this kind of dribble that goes between the legs and does this kind of stuff. You may think that that's not fundamentally good. I think it's fantastic because he does it well. I wish he would make the shot. In fact, there's all kinds of crazy ass plays that happen on the court all the time, like last night, where they do something incredible and they're like, oh my gosh, they're so good, but they wouldn't make the highlight because the shot isn't made afterwards. I hate that so much. Like the whole thing where Jalen Brunson fell down and Gary got the ball, that was fantastic. It was such a cool play. Like, I don't know. Doug Smith, just hold your tongue and just fuck off, please. Seriously, you're not helping things. And Raptor fans are going to be real pissed if you have any hand in a reason why Scottie Barnes eventually leaves Toronto at some point. Yeah, so hold your tongue and just fuck off, please. Seriously, I can't even say that I want you around as an archivist for this team because you've been here since the beginning at this point. You're just the game's passing you by, and you're just like, I'm sick of you, man. You're not suited for social media world. Let's just put it that way. Maybe you've been a very good journalist just with print and watching it and the way it was in the 90s when you started this job. But with the whole thing about the internet and like tweets and social media and stuff, you need to fucking get out of here because you don't need to be on there tweeting your fucking mouth off and saying stupid shit out of your mouth because there's really dumb shit you're saying, honestly. And yeah, I'll be pissed if you have any hand in somebody leaving like Scottie down the road. It really pisses me off. Let's see. Monique saying Fred pushing through everything everything was beautiful. Lex, you are missing Raptors tonight live stream lately. I'm holding it down. Tristan Phipps, we fight? Oh my God. I don't want to go in there, Monique, for two reasons. First of all, I'll go in and check and I'll see if you guys are in there maybe for a second. But I don't want to hear what they're saying on Raptors tonight, first of all, because I don't want to copycat them on their takes about the game. And then second of all, yeah, this other reason is the comments and seeing people being out of pocket and fighting with them. I would do that in times. And yeah, I know this Tristan guy. I've seen him on Twitter before, and he is a very diehard fan. And he does care, but some of these fans are stupid the way they're acting out emotionally about our losing right now. Like, let's just get centered here and stop being so crazy, y'all, with what y'all are saying. I have no idea what his argument was against whatever you were saying, and you guys were fighting. But I just trust what you're saying, and I'm on your side for sure. But yeah, I can't go in there because I don't want to hear what they're saying, first of all, and I don't want to copycat them. Tom Duke saying Masai's proven capability to be ruthless in trades leaves me with comfort that hard decisions aren't mine and will be made when the time is right, and only if it benefits the Raptors. Yeah. I don't know why some of these longstanding Raptors covers are showing pictures of Fred and Chris leaving the court and saying this may be the last time we see them in Raptor jerseys. Fuck off with that stupid shit. Once again, y'all aren't Bobby Webster. Don't start speculating. They may not do anything. What are you going to do if they don't do anything, all you crazy trade people right now? Like, what the fuck? Like, what if Joe Weiskamp is the whole thing that they do for the next 2 or 3 months and they don't do jack shit? Are y'all going to fucking flip out? See, you can't control this. So why the fuck are you tying your happiness to this or not? They want to make a deal. They'll make a deal if it's the right move, but you don't have any say on it. You're trying to control it. You can't fucking control it. They're going to make a trade. They're going to make a trade. I'm just sick of y'all like speculating and pushing for it and being impatient is what y'all are being. You're being impatient. This season, in a lot of ways, is already washed. We're too far behind in the race, the marathon sprint that is called the NBA season to catch up in some ways. We have too much of a hole to dig ourselves out of in some ways to make it realistic to try and do crazy good things. It's not like we have a functional team in a way that is operating at a high level that can compete in a playoff situation with a playoff caliber team. So it's like, listen, you know what? Let's sit in it. If we're going to be in a mess, we're going to be in a sloppy ass apartment, let's sit in it and just revel the spoils like a pig. Just roll around in that dumpster fire and just hang out in it for a while. There's nothing wrong with that. And just let it happen. But yeah, y'all are going to be really upset because you're not going to get enough of what you want. And you're going to be mad. And you're going to complain either way. They can make a deal and you're going to be like, yeah, well, you're going to be critiquing it anyway. But don't hold your breath. They may not make a deal. And all y'all will be tortured about it. Meanwhile, we just give it up to him. This is very much like just a give it up to God. Well, let's just give it up to Masai. We're going to give it up to him. We trust him. He is ruthless. He will make the best move for the team. And y'all are not smart enough or ruthless enough or have the balls enough to have his position and do what he does. Trust me, you do not. You do not. You may think you do in your head. Oh, I know what I would do with the Raptors if I was the president and the GM. Ooh, I know what I would switch around. Ooh, yeah, you don't fucking have the guts or the knowledge or the ability to do that. You may think you do just because you have an ESPN trade machine and you have I've watched basketball. I know players. I can trade them. Ooh, these guys know everything inside and out about it in a way that you can't even scratch the surface. So don't get it twisted. And don't hold your breath. Let it happen as it's supposed to. Trust in Masai, just like Tom Duke is saying. That's right. Let it happen as it's supposed to. All right, let's see. Isaac Campbell saying, if you think about it, with all due respect to Otto and Thad, our biggest moves in the last few years have been draft picks, Scottie and Koloko. We aren't going to shuffle furniture to give up on the future. Yeah, and think about this. We lose this year and we get another high draft pick this year. That is a very much a starting of a younger nucleus with Koloko and Scottie. And, maybe it is true that the timing is a little bit in between for guys like Pascal and Fred and OG. That, they're part of the first championship. And maybe these young guys that we're starting to collect, they will be part of the second championship and be more of the meat of it. And the guys from the first championship that are still around, they'll be like the vets that are just kind of near the end of their careers, maybe around when this. I don't know. I don't know how the timing will go, but I'm starting to see this picture of like the real nucleus for the Raptors for the future is Scottie, Koloko, and maybe the draft pick that we get this year. And that is maybe, Pascal I want to keep. I want to keep OG and I want to keep Fred, and they're part of it all. It's just that maybe that we may need to wait for this class of young guys that Isaac's talking about are the guys who mature and develop and become more capable. And that is when we get the drive up into the next level. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. And I think you're right, Isaac. Those were the biggest moves, the draft picks, the last 2 years for sure. And those guys are really good pieces to have going forward. Koloko and Scottie Barnes. They are huge, really good pieces. Nakothenacho's here. Y'all check out Nakothenacho. He's doing comedy shows around Toronto all the time. I would tell you his real name so you can go see him on stage at places like Yuck Yucks, the Comedy Bar, Social Capital Theater, all kinds of places all around town. You can see Nakothenacho doing jokes on the stage. You just go see Gerald Mayhew. That's right. Ooh, I outed his name. If you see Gerald Mayhew on the queue, that is Nako. You can go see him do some stand-up, y'all. I'm saying go support Gerald at his shows. He's out there, and you may see his name on the marquee. So if you see that name, that's Nako. All right, let's see. Fred ain't back to All-Star, but it's starting to feel like it's back to business as usual. Why Nick isn't sending Wancho or Kem is beyond me. Fred, OG, and Gary were our best players. There's his 3 stars. He says Fred, OG, and Gary. I said Fred, Gary, and Pascal, but I was really deliberating between putting Pascal on there just because he could have done so much more last night. And, OG wasn't bad, but both of them were kind of the same. They're kind of kind of eh. Now, Fred ain't back to All-Star. Yeah, he's definitely not an All-Star this year. And, they talked about this a little bit on the JJ Reddick podcast. I mean, he's just not playing consistent enough, and he's just not at that level. He just isn't this year. And that is a big problem with how we're playing this year. We come and go as we do with Fred. But in some ways, we should be coming and going as we do with Pascal. We should be coming and going as we do with Scottie. And there's not enough of that being involved in whether we win or not. Like, Pascal's great. He can get a 52-point game. He can shoot, be an incredible guy. But in some ways, he's not the kind of franchise player that really does add up to winning in some ways. Like, he disappears at times when we need him the most to make sure we win. And that's not totally his fault. It has to do with he's very much centered on by the other team's defense. And in those really clutch times, he's more like a better decoy than actually trying to get the ball through him. So it's tough. It's tough to say. But yeah, I don't understand why he's not playing any of those guys too. It's pissing me off. Get Kem Birch out there. You have problems with low post things. You have problems with other teams getting like so many rebounds right now. It's amazing how people are rebounding on us right now. I know it has to do with us missing a lot of shots, but it's insane. Like, let me go look at the Knicks for last night. As far as like we have been giving double-digit rebounds to people. Mitchell Robinson, 18 rebounds, 10 points. Julius Randle, 11 rebounds, 32 points. They out-rebounded us last night on the court, 51-46. So that's not as bad as the couple games before, just 5 more rebounds, but still, that sucks. We took as many field goal attempts as them, but they made 4 more field goals than us. We made 6 less three-pointers. So that's a big difference right there. We did get to the line more and made 10 more points off the free throw line than them. And that was very good. We needed that. And then the assists were not bad. 22 assists. We out-assisted them. 7 steals. We did win the turnover battle. We had good fast break points considering, and we did win the points in the paint. But yeah, the shooting is really the biggest Achilles heel here. You know, the first half we shot so bad in some ways, and we made it up in the second half to get up to the 42% that we shot at the end of the game, but they shot 47. And that's what I'm saying. 45% is where you need to get your shooting over to have a good shot to win. You shoot 42, they shoot 47. You don't shoot very well in the first half. You have to shoot way better in the second half just to make up the deficit. It's not enough. Too little, too late. That's really the statement about last night. Alvin said it after the game. Too little, too late. That's just too little, too late for the team to win. So, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Monique saying, Nakothenacho, I think the interview with JJ gave Fred life. No? I think that Fred just in general is getting like gumption from what I was saying. That like he really is kind of thumbing his nose at the haters because there are so many people out there hating him right now. And in some ways, he thrives in that hater environment. There's so many people hating on him right now. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to show you. It really does put a chip on his shoulder in the same ways that people that told him all along that he was too short to play. It's the same shit. And in some ways, you're feeling his fire, y'all haters of Fred. He's going to come out and he's going to kick so much ass just to spite you in what you're saying about him. Yeah, it's great. Picture Victor. Guardian saying picture Victor. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this guy would help 2 of our biggest needs, rim protection and 3-point shooting. And picture Victor. Yeah, we get that draft luck that we get from time to time. Who knows? Anything's possible. Who knows? Nako saying need to watch the full interview. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it's not too much on top of things. And like I said, there's some things about Fred's attitude about the whole thing that does piss me off. But also at the same time, there is a little bit of arrogance there. But he needs that to be who he is in certain ways. And you know, he's got the right attitude. And I think that he's on his way out of it. He's going to be way better for the rest of the season. I really do feel like that. That the really hard times for him this season are kind of past, and he's going to get going. He's going to really get going. Watch. And Nameless is saying, like I said in a couple of other streams, I'd trade to have one bad year for 10 years with another top 5 draft pick. You know, that's part of it, y'all. Have perspective. There's 30 teams in this league, and only a certain amount of them are going to be the premium top teams in the league every year, or like most years, or even just bounce up and be it for like a couple years and come back down. You know, we could be mired in the very bottom of the NBA standings for a while. You know, like some of these teams that have been down there. You can talk about Detroit. You can talk about Orlando. You can talk about Oklahoma City. You can talk about teams that just not have been good for a while and how hard it is to be a fan. We've got it so good. In some ways, we're going to bounce right back. In some ways, it's like a little weird dribble. Like we're all right, Tampa year, bad year, Scottie. Okay, good year with Scottie in his first year. We're up. And then down on the second year of Scottie's career, but we get another draft pick. And then boom, the ball bounces even higher on the rebound from being a bad season this year is what I'm saying. It's like we bounced back so well from the Tampa year the next year. Well, we're having another down year. Maybe we will bounce up back even higher in the year after this next year. So I hate saying let's do next year already. I know that people hate that, especially because of the Leafs and the culture with that. Okay, next year. There's always next year. People hate that shit. But it is very true for the Raptors this year. That a lot of the fans need to start thinking this way. Stop thinking about the playoffs. Stop thinking about the play-in some ways, because it's futile. It's futile in a lot of ways. There's such a deficit. And if we're not going to be able to beat the Knicks and Indiana this week in games where we should have beat them, same thing with Milwaukee, it's just that year. And in some ways, taking the L's and getting better draft position is a better strategy in the long run in some ways. All right, let's see. Seymour saying, is Bamba available or Ibaka? Should I take Jaja Pachulia right now? That last one was a slight shot at Kawhi. That's funny. That's literally a pun in a pun. A slight shot at Kawhi like in two ways, literally. Wow, Seymour. I love it. I love the comedy. And you know what? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the Magic are going to be sellers. Like they may be buyers at this point because they are really going in the right direction. Ibaka, I think he's set with the Bucks. I don't think he'd like to switch teams from them to us at this point. I think he has a much better chance to get another ring riding with Giannis. So yeah, I don't know if those are realistic. I don't know if those are realistic. People, I would love to see Pirtle. Pirtle is the one. He really is the one that could change our whole season really quickly if we could make that work. Jakob Pirtle comes to Toronto back somehow, some way. That could really turn things around for us. Tom Duke saying nameless 100%. I like how you said if we win, we win. And if we lose, we're in the victor sweepstakes and it's all good. That's right, y'all. You need to do this with your own life. Make it whatever the outcome is that you can't control. Once again, we're teaching life skills today. Whatever it is you can't control in your life, we'll have two different things you can control about the outcome about it. And that's how you react to it. And so if something is not good, all right, you can see it going in a positive way for you or in a negative way. You wait and see how it goes because you can't control it. And when it happens, you say, all right, this is the positive. So I'll go with my plan that I can control after reacting to the positive outcome. And that's what I'll do now. The same thing in the reverse. If it doesn't work out, something in your life doesn't work out the way you had hoped, and it's a negative outcome, well, you should have a contingency plan, a plan for you, what you can control in the situation that has happened that's negative, and then you can make the best of it in that kind of way. That will empower you in a powerless position. That you are powerless over the whole thing and how it happens, but in the outcome, you are powerful in the way you react to it and the way you look at it in perspective. And that's what I'm saying. Y'all can rig it and game life that you win no matter what. It could be the worst fucking possible thing in the world happening to you. But if you look at the silver lining, the bright side, or you take what you can control about it and use it in a positive way, your life will be so much easier to deal with adversity and hard things that happen to you. And that's what I'm saying, y'all. Let's take the power for ourselves and recognize where we have the power in the whole thing. And that's your perception. That's the way you feel about it. Your power is in how you feel about it. And if you are powerless, you can't control your emotions. Oh, they lose. I hate it. I want to throw things. Well, you're fucked. You need to get control of your mind and how you feel, grasshopper. And then you can start to cope better. So that's what I'm saying. I love what Tom's saying here because you look at, you can't control whether the Raptors are going to win or not. So they win, great. We just go about how we always are. If they lose, then, think about what you can control in that. And, maybe you need to dial it back. Maybe you don't need to be watching them for a little while because you can't handle it because you care too much. I respect that to a degree. You don't have to be a masochist like all of us that are going to go and watch every single game because some of it may be very depressing and sad and tough to watch. So I get it. But, that's what I'm saying. Do what you can control in the whole situation. And way you perceive the losing can really help you also. They're losing. It reflects on me as a Raptor fan. I feel like a loser now. Well, fuck that shit. Separate yourself from it and have a whole big perspective of the whole thing and realize you're winning in the whole scheme of things in the long run. That's how I like to look at it. All right, Tom Duke saying, go Raptors. I love it. That's the most important thing right there. In Masai we trust. Let's do our incantations. In Masai we trust. Trust Bobby Webster. Come on, Nick Nurse, play your bench. We got some sayings we do in the Raptor Freak cult. We have our chants, and we got to remember them. In Masai we trust. That's right. Guardian saying, time has come to play bench, make decisions, bring some prospects in or unside guys, see what we can find before the season is over. Time to quit playing starters over 40 minutes. We have the top three in NBA. I know. You see James Harden, OG, Pascal, and Fred are the top 4 minutes played guys in the whole entire league. 3 Raptors in the top 4. Ooh, that is really a signal that we're overplaying our guys. Very much so. Nick, let's think about the long term in this way. Let's save their bodies this year to a degree. This should be a fact-finding mission to see how what we can build a supporting cast. You need to give these guys time and not worry about winning anymore. Honestly, you need to be giving everybody a good look, because in some ways you need to assess everybody who's on this roster this year for who needs to be coming with us next year. And that you got to give Jeff Doughton a chance. You got to give Juancho some time out there to see how much he can meld with everybody and allow them to fail, allow them to not be exactly perfectly at the top level quality play that you want from those 5 starters you overplay. Because we may need to just really kind of figure out what we have in inventory and what we want to keep for what's going to happen next year. And if you're not even giving us a chance to look at Jeff Doughton in a proper way, as far as like what he can help us with, then we're failing at that. So I really think that in some ways you need to shift gears with your minutes. I know we've all been saying this for a while, years. Stop overplaying the starters. And there's a real practical reason for it right now. That's beside the thing that you want to just win all the time. That's why you overplay them. Well, if we're not winning anyway, start playing those other guys so we can give them tryouts for next year. Let's see. Nameless is saying, Precious said in an interview that his condition is noticeably lower. I expected him to be integrated more and more as we move forward. Yeah, he's just not in good shape. He's huffing and puffing. He's got to get his stamina back up. I mean, he sat for so long. This is understandable, but he's going to get it back. We saw a little flash of aggressiveness when he took the ball to the basket and smacked that guy in the face. He was laying on the ground, and I was like worried that like Mark Davis was going to say, "Oh, flagrant foul on Precious," because he slapped him in the face. He slapped him in the face. He's like putting the ball in. He's like, it's like I was like, Precious, you badass. But that's really kind of how NBA players play. They do dirty shots while they're coming at you at the same time. It's like Alvin said. Every time Allen Iverson went at him, and he would hit him in the head when he was scoring the basket. At the same time, he hit his arm out. He'd be like laying it in. He'd like. It's really what Precious did last night. But the whole thing about that play is that he was so ferocious and like going aggressively to the basket that we've missed this in his absence. And we just saw it once last night. But that is going to come back, and that is going to be a huge thing about being a threat on the court that they have to worry about, and it will help the other guys with getting better shots. Is that part of what we missed is Precious's aggressiveness to go off the dribble and just attack the rim at any time. And seeing him get that shot over Hartenstein last night was really good. And I love that he did not get in trouble for hitting him in the face, because in some ways I was worried because they were going to review it, that they were going to turn around and fuck with us on that. But they didn't. They didn't. They let it just go the way it was. And they're just like, yeah, this is just the way the game's played. Slapping him in the face. It was crazy. But yeah, his conditioning is going to get better, and hopefully we'll see his minutes increase, and that'll help in part of what I was just talking about. That if he can capably take more minutes in a way that Nick's like, all right, Precious is back, I don't mind cutting the minutes for Pascal because Precious is here, or Fred or Gary or something. Let's see. Good Eye saying, because the offense is not created for Scottie, I feel like Raptors is trying to maximize the value for Fred and Trent. I feel like they could go to Scottie, and it's not that they're not choosing to. It's just I don't think Scottie's being aggressive enough to calling for the ball. I don't think he's being aggressive enough to do different things. Like, he doesn't seem like I don't know what it is. I feel like he could be very much more aggressive in trying to get established in the game offensively at the beginning of the game. That he's kind of just shying back and trying to do glue stuff, like rebound, play good defense, kind of facilitate passing. But I want you to go get yours, Scott. You got to stop getting off these slow offensive starts. We need you right away. You think it's because the offense isn't created for him? Yeah, that's probably true to a degree. But they could easily start calling his number way sooner and earlier. I don't understand. Once again, why aren't you posting him up right away at the beginning of the game? And even with New York, I know they had a little bit taller, bigger guys, and that did hurt us. They were beating us to rebounds. Part of the reason why we lost last night is because we were not the first team to the 50-50 balls. They were out hustling us. They were outworking us. And that is part of the reason why they won last night, New York, is that we weren't doing enough hustling and running around and getting the stuff. And Alvin called it at one point. He said, look, that's a ball you got to recover that New York went and got that we should have gotten. There was a lot of that kind of stuff in the game last night. But, the effort was pretty good in a lot of ways too. But there was also moments where the Knicks just wanted it more than us. And I hate that. I don't like that. I don't know if they're maximizing the value for Fred or Trent. I'm getting an inferration that you think it's because they want to trade them. Well, we'll see what's going to happen. But once again, this is not a space where we're talking about trades or kind of wanting them to happen. We don't want trades necessarily. We only react when they happen. It's like I didn't know or care about who Joe Weiskamp was until yesterday. Now I go look at him, I learn everything about him. So I'm not out there coveting or speculating for other players. And Nick said it in an interview this past year. He's like, I don't look at SGA and covet him to come to this team like the fans do. So I'm very much the same way as Nick Nurse. He's like, he just goes with who he has on his team. We don't look at other players. We don't think about, we do not covet thy neighbor's wife, is basically what we're saying here. And that, it is like whoever Bobby and Masai put on the team in front of us, then we work with them. Well, we got a new guy, Joe Weiskamp. And now we can talk about him. But I'm not going to speculate about any trades or even that our guys are going to get traded. And you could read into that. And that's fine. Cool Boys here. Good, Twitch fam. Good to see Twitch fam. Scottie Barnes Twitch fam is still alive. It's just we have not reconvened and met up in a very long time. And in a lot of ways, I'm glad. And also, in some ways, I'm very sad about it because I do miss the community there. And some of the people like Cool Boy that were there is saying, hopefully things are swell. Scottie 2 for 10 for 7 points. Last game, Scottie was 3 for 10 with 6 points until he dropped 13 late for a comeback. Rico Hines run. Scottie was a tease. Yeah, listen, this guy's still really much in development. We know Cool Boy. And over the time, he's going to get better. We know he's on his way up. It's just that there's the ups and downs of being a young player and learning. And the other thing about Scottie that we have to realize is he's not like a young superstar like some of these other guys like Ben Mathurin, who are like more scorers. He's very much an all-around player. And that his leaps and jumps aren't going to be measured by scoring. That we got to stop calibrating how Scottie's progressing by how many points he scores from time to time, because it's not really what's telling us what he's doing. It's the whole thing. It's the rebounds, it's the passing, it's the defense. Those are the things y'all need to be gauging. And he could be doing exemplary on defense and barely score any points and have a good game. And that's why we got to look at it that way. He's not a scorer. He's more like a Jason Kidd, Magic Johnson kind of all-around player. Magic was never the leading scorer on his team for the most part. He was always a facilitator and a rebounder and kind of just all kinds of different things all at once. But he was never the go-to guy. It would be more like James Worthy or it'd be more like Kareem. And that's the thing we got to realize is Scottie's that kind of dude. He's not necessarily like Julius Randle or a Pascal Siakam. He's more like a Jason Kidd. And that when we look at his point total, we're going to need to look at it with the whole flesh of the box score and not just look at the points at the end of the game, because it won't tell you the whole story. And it's not going to be, it'll really make you think, oh, he's really bad because he's only got like 2 points or something. Well, he had like 12 rebounds and he had like 7 assists also at the same time. So I really want people to start, when they look at Scottie's stuff, to really think about it from this angle. It's like thinking about him like more like Jason Kidd than more like Kobe Bryant is what I'll say. Something like that. Let's see. Ronadon is here again. Good to see you, Ronadon. Another day in a row. I love it. Some diehard fans just need to realize that the Fred, Van Vliet, and Siakam core is going to be a first-round exit. Time to rebuild. Eee! Well, I mean, I don't know. You can't really just pinpoint 2 guys and just say that. And I don't believe that. I think that, first of all, I don't think we should be going to the playoffs this year at all. We're not ready for it. I don't think we can get everything back on track in a cohesive, competent way by the end of the season. We could, but what is the reasoning of doing it? Like I said, a lot of teams are already way ahead down the road. It would be like the tortoise and the hare. It's basically kind of like they're gone. They've run and they haven't had any stumbling blocks. Meanwhile, we have to do things to catch up just to find our identity, and then to get time over a section of the games where we're really playing and fine-tuning it and really fine-tuning the roles and what different guys are doing. The time for that, we're behind already. And other teams are finding it more and easy and getting more good at it and fine-tuning it already, whereas we just need to find our identity in the first place. So, I mean, I'm not worried about this. And, like, you can't just blanketly say that the core of Fred and Siakam is just a first-round exit every year, because that's bullshit. That's bullshit. It may be this year, yeah, for sure, and I would agree with that. But it's not like you can say that forever. You know, that you can't just say that, Ron. I appreciate you being here a lot recently, but you can't just say that those 2 guys are always going to be a first-round exit, that core. That's not true. That team will get further. It will. I mean, you can look at it in some ways like, you know, as an extension of the championship team. You can look at it as an extension of the bubble. You can, you know, these guys were on those teams, and they're part of those cores too. and they're better now. So I think that there's a flaw in your logic. I will say that about this year. It's going to be a first round exit. If we make the play-in and we make the playoffs, I don't think we'll get past the first round this year just because we don't have our shit together for a long enough time. Like I was just saying. Callie's here. Good to see Callie Mayer, a great original Raptor freak. Been here like since most of the whole time I've been doing this. Pascal has had 3 guys on him. Scottie's wide open under the basket, calling for the ball and no pass. Yeah, I don't totally remember those times. Now, one of the things I am still upset with Scottie about is he's passing up shots in the rotating of the ball around on the offense. There was one play in particular where he was in the corner and he should have shot that 3 in the corner right away, but he gave it to Gary right away, and it kind of fucked things up. It was one too many passes because Gary wasn't open, and then it turned into a turnover. Scottie, you got to be aggressive. You can't be sheepish. You need to take the shots. If you're wide open, you cannot do this anymore. Don't be scared to shoot. Even if you're going to miss, you need to keep them honest. We talked about this a lot after the Milwaukee game, and you did it again last night a couple times where you were not anxious. You were anxious and you didn't shoot when you should have. Now, I don't know about like Pascal not passing to people. Sometimes when you're triple covered or double covered, it's really hard to have a vision and recognize where guys are. But I don't know if I'd have to see the specific play you're talking about, Callie, to really see if it seemed like just Pascal just missed a really good opportunity probably. Is what happened there. Seymour saying, if you were GM Bobby, in your honest opinion, who has to go, coach or a player? Ooh, Seymour coming with the big guns. Well, thank God I'm not. In some ways, I do never ever aspire to be the GM of the Raptors. I don't mind being in their brain trust, but that is a hard job and something that is a lot of pressure and can be tough to do. All right, in my honest opinion, I honestly don't think anybody really has to go necessarily. I think we just need to work it out internally. Now, I don't think it's a coach. I mean, if we're really going to point a finger, I'd like to get a new offensive coach for next year. I'd like to have a new brain in the brain trust that's really offensive minded and is a guru, a genius, somebody who really knows their shit. Like if it was somebody like Mike D'Antoni, I would be like, yeah, get somebody like Mike D'Antoni. I don't know what Mike D'Antoni's doing these days. Or maybe, I don't know if Steve Nash is a good offensive coach or even a good coach at all. In fact, maybe he had his little one and done with the Nets and it's no good anymore. But the biggest hole in this team, our team that we love, is offensive coach. I really do feel like that's the biggest problem, that we just need better direction on the offensive end, better scheming, a better kind of set idea, philosophy, whatever. I don't think that it's working, the one that we have right now. And the other thing is we need better confidence building on our team. We need better overall vibes as far as y'all need to make these shots or feel good or have those kind of feels like, woo, I just throw it up in the air, boom, it falls through. It's the opposite right now. Everything's sketchy, everything's tentative, everybody's kind of in their mind too much. I don't know, maybe the Noah system is a really big fail because it's putting them so much in their mind with the numbers. In fact, they kind of talked about this in the JJ Reddick podcast with Fred. It's like these guys who do stat counting on the bench. They're absolutely always in their head about the numbers they're putting out there and thinking about that, and it distracts from the game and how they play. Maybe the Noah system is too much information and that they're too much in their heads about the percentages and what they're doing. Maybe knowing every little detail about the arc and the way it goes in and everything like that is actually not good because there's some magic to basketball that doesn't need to be known. And maybe when you know all that little bit of fine tuning and stuff, you get too much in your head and you're thinking too much. That's part of the problem. And sometimes you need to just go on instinct and just go on autopilot and everything works out. And I think that may be part of the problem. The Noah system is making them think too much about their shots. And this, and then they get out of their head and they're not just doing it unconsciously through the way that they practice for all the years without a Noah system, where they just on feel or just vibes or just I'm in the groove. I'm just shooting. It's then they don't have a machine that's telling them exactly how they missed just a little bit, even though they shot it good. Oh, this is how you can, that gets them too much in their head. And I think that may be part of the phenomena with the Noah system being a problem, is that it puts them more in their thoughts in their head about what they're doing when they should just be unconscious and just be I just fucking shoot. Just like NBA players have for forever before technology had the Noah system show up and put them in their heads. I wonder if that has something to do with it. Is the Noah system making y'all think too much? And y'all need to just go meditative state. I am just clearing my head, voiding it. Chris does the meditation before the game. That's partly why. You want to clear your head and be in a clean slate and just be not distracted and be able to just go and do what you do. Well, maybe you're thinking too much about, oh, the Noah system did this or this. I don't know. I'm trying to point fingers. I'll point it at an inanimate computer program. How about that? It's the Noah system's fault. Since you showed up, Noah system, ooh. I mean, different people are blaming different points in the season. Some people blame when they put Gary on the bench for our downfall this season. Some people, I blame personally, the catalyst for our season going down the tubes was when Pascal did a split in Dallas, and he had to be out after that. That's where we totally went off the rails and everything got fucked up. Some people think it's when they put Gary on the bench. You know, they're trying to point to times. Well, the Noah system showed up. Maybe, I don't know. I wish it would help us, but maybe it makes us think too much. Yeah, so I'll blame the Noah system and offensive coaches. How about that? Because that's really where our biggest problems are. We could clean up all the shit on defense. We'd be a good defensive team. I think we have good players. They're all very capable. We have a lot of talent. It's just we need to get better offense, and it'll solve so many problems of ours. Nako saying, I wouldn't expect Randle to have that performance on a regular basis. Actually he does, Gerald. You know what he does, man? When he was on the Lakers, he always had this overpoweringness about his game where he is very much like I can score whenever I want kind of guy. He's just that he had a bad attitude. He's kind of had a career arc kind of like Kyle Lowry. He was a problem guy with an attitude problem when he was younger, and he matured. And since he's come to New York and played the last few seasons, he's really kind of gotten to be more like, but he's always been this kind of dude that can score whenever he wants and do what he does. He does this regularly. Now, I'm not going to say that that's not a regular performance by him because he can do this regularly. And part of maybe what wasn't regular about what he did last night was how many of those shots he made with guys just completely breathing down his neck. Like OG gave him a really perfect effort on defense, is right on him, and he makes the shot still with him right in his face. And that's impressive. Now, sometimes OG does enough to bug him and he doesn't make those, but he was on fire right from the beginning of the game. And that's Julius Randle. He's a real deal scorer in this league that's very hard to stop. And yeah, not on a regular basis because he will miss if the defense is up on him. And he maybe was a little bit extra special. And I do think it had something to do with Pascal's performance in Madison Square Garden the last time we played him, that he did want to make a statement and be that guy above him. So let's see. Fun guy saying breaking. Raptors are sending forward Siakam and guard Van Vliet to the Pelicans for forward Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Jackson Hayes, and the Lakers unprotected picks. That's his dream. Yeah, don't do this. Y'all keep trying to break trades on me, and I'm like, I'm gullible. I'll start to think, ooh, this is really happening. Oh, fun guy's bringing me something good. I'm like, wow, that's huge. Let me look at that real quick. That's tough, man. Because in that deal, we get 3 guys back. And, Ingram's very comparable to Siakam in some ways. McCollum is definitely a very good shooter. And then Jackson Hayes is a nice big player. I hate it still just because those are my guys and I don't want to see them go. That's your dream? Well, it's an interesting one, fun guy. It's not a deal I totally hate. Like if it actually happened in real life, I would have to get used to it. I wouldn't like it, but it would be something that maybe would work. And it's not like a bad trade, I don't think, completely. Let's see. Monique saying, to those that want to trade Gary Trent, I'm definitely laughing out loud. Think again, shaking my head. I know. He's like the only one who can make a shot. He's the only one who's immune from our competency on offense problems. He's the only one who has a very confident shot, regardless of whatever anybody else is doing. And in some ways, he's the only one who's been carrying water for us offensively in a lot of ways. So yeah, getting rid of Gary right now is very dangerous. And it's not maybe necessarily, even though we thought he was the guy we needed to trade this year because of the contract inspiring and stuff like that. I don't know what's going on with us. It really is like we can go in so many different directions from here in so many different kinds of ways. And it's going to be interesting. They may trade Gary just because it makes more sense with the things with his contract coming up. So Ramadan is saying last night game is clear example that if your point guard strength is to score, the team offense will stall. Compare how Fred VanVleet managed the offense and compare it to how Lowry does it. Well, they are similar in some ways because part of it is that Lowry's had huge influence on Fred in his game and teaching him and molding him, teaching him some of his tricks. Some of his mentalities. some of the way he would do things in situations. So there is a lot of similarity there. Now, once again, Ramadan, because we kind of talked about this in the last couple of days, Fred came into the season program to be an off guard and shooting more than passing. And he really is kind of rewiring himself mid-season to go back to his old role from last year. And he is kind of showing it more and more. He had better assists the last 2 games. He's had 20 assists in the last 2 games. So he's starting to make it try and happen. Now, listen, the whole idea that there's pass first point guards in this league at this point, I thought we talked about this already. There's not very many of them, and that's not really a real thing anymore. That we don't have like pass first point guards in this league. Every point guard is a shoot first point guard in a lot of ways. It's just how it has to be. But I agree. I'd like to see more assist totals for our team in general. But I don't think that solely lies on the shoulders of Fred. That, Pascal and Scottie have a huge part in the assists on our team also. And we've even seen OG step up with some good assists at times in a couple games recently. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting what you're saying. But you know what? Listen, all the point guards in this league are score first at this point. Trust me. They're only passing when it's the best opportunity at the point. If they had the option to score instead, and it's fine, they are only passing when it dictates to do that a lot of the times. Nameless is saying total rebuild sucks. Years and years, what we do is a retool much quicker. I agree with this completely. You don't destroy the whole house. What if you have a couple of nice rooms in your house? You want to destroy the whole fucking house, raise it to the ground, and have it like rebuilt completely? No, we have a lot of good things about our team that are already existing. And it's much better to do a reno than to do a rebuild. And yeah, I'm totally with Nameless on this. There's too much good about our team. And like, plus, there's so many ways you can make it worse. You got to keep what's going good still and not just wipe the whole slate clean. I know some people do a project and like, this isn't exactly right. I just want to start completely over and rip it up. The perfectionist in some of us. This isn't like that. You can't be like that with this. You definitely need to keep your rough draft and keep editing it instead of just ripping it up, throwing it in the garbage, and starting completely over. Fuck that. You guys got to keep editing the rough draft that you already have, Bobby Webster. You cannot completely clean the slate. And any fans that want that, you're crazy because that's the fast track to becoming the Houston Rockets. You want to fucking do that? You be careful what you wish for. That's not what I want. I want a retool, a reno, not a rebuild. A rebuild is a very bad idea. Lion Hunter saying, no, it really wasn't. Trying to spin this on Fred is just pathetic. Yeah, I'm not going to spin anything on anybody like right now. I don't want to play the blame game. That's the biggest problem right now. When the team is not winning, everybody wants to point fingers and just play the blame game, have a scapegoat, and try and come after people for something. And that's why I don't want to do it to any of the players. And I'm trying not to do it. And, Seymour asked me the question, what would you change? Well, this is what I would change. And I said it. Maybe we need to dial back the Noah system as far as like what it's doing with our players and in their heads. And maybe just try a day where you turn it off. Don't have it on for a day and let those guys just play without it and shoot without it and see if there's some sort of weird result from that. And then, like I said, if we really are going to fire someone, we need to get a better offensive coach. I'm not even saying fire anybody. I just say reacquire or get a new offensive coach that will help us in this area, whether it's a Chris Finch, a Sergio, a Mike D'Antoni, whoever really knows offense in the NBA and that could do this. This may be a perfect spot for Steve Nash. And Steve Nash showed up on our team finally and was a part of the Raptors organization as the offensive coordinator kind of coach for our team. That would maybe be pretty good because he's actually a very good offensive-minded guy from his career with his assists for the Suns and the Mavericks and the way he played. He has a good offensive mind for the NBA. And maybe he's not a good head coach in some ways, but he could help with the brain trust. I don't know. I mean, it may be that he's just done with coaching for the NBA. He had a bad experience. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it at this point. But, and we got to look at every kind of thing. Let's see. Kareem saying at Nakothenacho, cool name, by the way. Julius Randle has been killing it this year. I have him on my fantasy. Yeah, he's been awesome. He's a player that annoys me, but also I have respect for. He's kind of like this weird guy that's kind of like a knucklehead, but he's so ultra talented. People have to put up with him. I know there was a time last season where he really got out of favor with the New York media and the fans, and they were pissed at him. In fact, he was causing all kinds of chemistry problems on the team because of his attitude. So you kind of do live and die with him, whether he's being a good citizen. Because sometimes he's not being a good citizen, and he really fucks up the Knicks. And it could be in some ways that he may turn into a bad citizen at any time. And some people don't really trust him completely. I mean, he's being a good citizen right now. But in adversity, yeah, he can be a real problem. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, he's on your fantasy team. Yeah. So you're up to date. Kareem knows what he's been doing, and he has had huge games this year. He is very much an all-star. Top of Top saying, I remember 16 and 66. So I go back to the beginning as well. Alexi, that's why it was hard to believe in two guards who couldn't finish inside at a high rate succeeding. If you had to move one, who goes? Okay, let's see. You're talking about that's why it was hard to believe in two guards who couldn't finish inside at a high rate succeeding. If you had to move one, who goes? Who am I choosing between? Fred, obviously, what, and Lowry? Or like who, Malachi? I'm not sure who you're talking about. I don't want anybody to go. Basically, I'll just answer the question: who goes? I just don't want anybody to go. I'm going to continue to say that just as because it's such a counterbalance to everybody wanting so many people to go right now. It's like, fuck this. I don't want anybody to go. And everybody would say, well, wait, how are we going to get better? Well, from within. You do the hard work without making the easy fix. You look inward and you look at yourself and you figure it out. These guys look in the mirror. They say, oh, we got to do this. Nick, you got to do adjustments and changes. Do them. And boom, we just keep trying until something works. And I don't necessarily say get rid of people. I mean, I'm not really like, I think that you try and make it better with who you have. Jimmy's saying, won't be here for long, but Toronto deserves better than this garbage. It is what it is, Jimmy. But like I said, listen, who knows who deserves what? Does the Houston Rockets fan base deserve what they've gotten? Does, different fan bases that have toiled and been in a horrible place for so long, do they deserve it? Maybe we do deserve it because our fans, some of them are such turncoats and toxic and just ugly the way they treat the team in an abusive way. Maybe we do deserve it. Maybe we do. I hate that. Nameless saying, sometimes we all just have to ride the painted pony, baby. Ride that painted pony. If you want to ride the white horse. Laid back. Yes, 80s. White horse. Just ride the white horse. Space Cadet saying, we won a game like this last season because Barnes would give us at least 12 to 14 points minimum. Yeah, that's scary because these kind of close games we could manage and win in the past, and we're not doing that at this point. And that's what's really worrying people and scaring people. Is like, this is not how we do these things. We come back and we win these close-ass games, and it's just not happening. And that's why people are freaking out and acting out of their ass right now because they really are kind of like panicking. And I hate it. Stop panicking, y'all. Let's just ride. Let's be cool as a cucumber, man. Everything's all right, man. Come on, dude. It's just the NBA, man. You got to be casual. We got to be casual about it to a degree. We really do. Let's see. Daddy is here. Daddy Gates, good to see you. Again, the offensive schemes were found lacking again last night. Knicks threw them a zone quite a bit last night, and the coaching staff did not run any anti-zone plays. No cuts and no slashes. Yeah, there's simple stuff that they could probably be doing a little bit different. That makes me wonder, what is going on here, Brian Windhurst? If the Raptors know how to manage games and win them at the end of games, but they're not winning close games at this point. I don't need to be Aaron Baines to figure out what might be going on here. Nakothenacho saying, I don't doubt Julius Randle is good. I just don't know if his three-point shooting is that good. I think Masai is cooking up a Bargnani Lowry trade. Ooh, I love the sound of that, Nakothenacho. Yeah. He has actually been a good three-point shooter for a while. And the thing about him is, like I said, he can make shots with people just draped on him like clothing. Like he had OG right on him, and he still made those 5 threes in the first quarter. That was insane. That is really like something to respect and be like, wow, this dude is a very good offensive player. That he can make a three with one of the best defenders in the whole entire league, like draped all over him. And he was really dialed in and on. Like he won't make those all. Like he was really like on it. That's another thing we have to say is Randall was hot. He definitely was hot. And we withstood that first quarter pretty good, but still, it didn't matter. There was so many other things we didn't do good in the game. Ronadan is saying, look how many teams have won a championship with a score first point guard. None. The exception is Curry, as he gives up the ball early on the clock and run through sets to ruin opponents' defenses. What do you mean? Like Drew Holiday is a score first. Chris Paul, in some ways, is a score first point guard. I'm just saying, like it really is the idea of like, what do you mean by score first versus pass first? Because like in some ways, every single point guard in this league has to be a score first point guard. That's just how it is. There's no Muggsy Bogues out in this league at this point. Everybody has to be a scorer first. And the passing, yeah, if they have good passing skills. I think Fred has excellent passing skills. He's a great point guard. I think this is the crux of this argument that we're having right here. Is that I believe in Fred as a point guard, and I know he can pass it and do all those things. He hasn't been doing it as much this year because he was not expected to, but now they're kind of having to go back on that. And I'm not going to label him as a bad point guard or somebody who doesn't pass the ball, because he does. And you just got to look for it. You'll see it. And we've won a championship. Like Kyle Lowry is worse for this than Fred. I always looked at Fred as being more of a passer than Kyle. That Kyle's not as good as a passing point guard. So look at it that way. It's maybe partly perception in everybody's individual head. I think Fred was a way more of a pass first point guard than Kyle was when we had on our team. So I don't know. It may be like, I don't know. The numbers should support this. What is Fred's career average for assists? And that's the kind of stuff you got to look at. The other thing about Fred is, in a lot of ways, he was very much like Jose Calderon for a couple years and on our team, where you looked at his assist to turnover ratio was really, really good. And that is the sign of a very good passing point guard. It's the stat that's the most important is look at assist to turnover. That is what a point guard looks at and is the most important stat, is what are your assist to turnover? And I think Fred's assist to turnover for his career is actually really, really good. And that he's been in the top 10 of assists in the league from year to year at times. So I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to disagree with your the way you're describing Fred as a shoot first point guard. I don't believe that. I think that if he's playing point guard, he can be pass first, and that's not a problem. Lion Hunter saying Fred was the only reason we were in that game. There was no ISO ball. He basically did everything you want out of a point guard. But please continue pushing your agenda. Lion Hunter, you go. And I'm with you completely on this. Fred has been the most important player for us this week. He has been playing the best out of them. Siakam has not been playing well the last couple games. Scottie has been disappearing and not showing up. OG has not been consistent. Gary's been consistent. I'll give Gary that. But Fred has been the guy in these last couple games. And I know he's had a lot of duds recently too in the past, but he's shown up this week in particular, and we can't come after him. I'm with Lion Hunter 100% on this. 100%. Click saying, hey guys, I've come to the realization that a lot of these fans have become too emotionally invested in the team. Accept the season we are dealing with and just support the team regardless of wins or losses. That's right. That's right. Maybe the mentality to make it in this city of Toronto is you have to be such a winner that you are all about complete winning. It's like to make it in this city. It's like they say, if you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Well, Toronto's like that. This expensive ass, priced out place for not the average person. To be a person that lives in Toronto, makes enough money to have a lifestyle in Toronto, you have to be a certain type of like go-getter and like everything is perfect. And maybe these are the people that are freaking out because they're perfectionists. And to make it in this city, you have to be like this at a high level. And they have no patience for failure or defeat because they didn't have it to get it to this point, to live in this fucking crazy ass expensive city that takes so much to live in. It's like, oh, I didn't bust my ass to make this amount of money so I can pay for this really overpriced condo and fucking drive and pay fucking $2,000 a month just to have a car parking spot. You know, it's that maybe this is the mentality that's not lining up. This is like, these people are really like go-getters and they don't stand for any failure in their life. Because if they had failure, they wouldn't be where they are today. I don't know. I'm making some shit up off the top of my head, but maybe that is a factor in it. I don't know. But I think you're exactly right, Click. They are way too emotionally invested in this team. They need to dial it back. If you're feeling like feelings of being on the ledge because of what the Raptors are doing right now, you need to take a step back and just not watch for a little while. Or maybe just like try and figure out a way where you can detach yourself just a little bit more emotionally from the Raptors. because this is a big problem. This is what's driving a lot of this knuckleheaded, stupid, out of pocket shit that people are saying online and stuff. Is that y'all are too invested, and I'm invested. Trust me. Trust me. I'm invested. I'm here every fucking morning at 9:30. Don't get it wrong. I'm not. I am invested. I am committed. But I'm also like able to separate the two just from my own sanity, just from my own ability to stay like an alcoholic who's not drinking. If I got like some of these people, I may go to the bar and be like, oh, fuck this. The Raptors are so horrible. I just need to pick up again. Fuck that. I would never do that. And that's part of what people need to do. It's just like detach themselves a bit because they're taking it too hard. Monique's saying the Wayne Embry Fellowship is officially open again. Apply now if you're interested. Rest in peace to Tristan's mom. I hate to hear that. Who Tristan? Who are you saying? Tristan Thompson? I hate that. I hope that's not who, or that Tristan guy who's on the Raptors tonight. I don't know who you're talking about. You're gonna have to elaborate. I hope it's not Tristan Thompson's mom, because that's somebody that Adriana knows, and that will be very sad. The Wayne Embry Fellowship is officially open. That's right, y'all. If you are a young person, not like me, if you are a person of color, a person of a minority, there is a program out there, the Wayne Embry Fellowship, for coming in and working with the Raptors. It's open. I highly encourage anybody who's on this channel that fits that and is interested to go and apply for it and hopefully get in there and let us know what it's all about and stuff like that. But yeah, Wayne Embry Fellowship is open once again, taking applications. If you are interested and you fit the bill, go do it. Go do it. Monique, maybe I don't know. Are we too old for it? I know you're older like me, but you're not as old as me. But I don't know if you can apply for it. So get some Raptor freaks applied for it. That'd be awesome. Lolita's saying Masai, when interviewed previously, says that it will take time to be a champion contender again. He also says that we will win again in Toronto. Trust in Masai. Yeah, I trust in Masai, but one of these points, like I said, when Pascal did the split in Dallas and got injured originally, when Gary went to the bench, another moment that I was like, man, is this a bad harbinger of things, was when Masai Ujiri showed up on Raptors tonight and he was drunk. And I'm like, why is he so drunk? Is he depressed? Is he celebrating? I know it was right before the Mandela celebration we do every year, but he was really drunk. And to me, it was like, is he depressed? It's like, why is Masai depressed? And in some ways, I'm like thinking back, it's like Masai being drunk and like what's going on with our team? Is he really like upset about what's happening with the Raptors and what's coming? I'm like, oh, maybe I'm reading into it too much. But that's another moment that I point to that kind of showed that signs aren't good, that things aren't good with the team right now. Why is Masai so drunk on Raptors tonight? I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all. And I hope I never ever see him drunk like that in public ever again. Go ahead and have fun and get drunk, Masai, but don't put it on any camera, because it makes me worried about your feelings about the team and that things are bad. Let's see. Summer's here. Good to see Summer Low, a great Raptors freak. We love when you pop in and check on us every once in a while. Do you think Nick has lost the room? That's hard to say. In some ways, there are signs that possibly these guys aren't giving them enough effort during the game to make things happen in the right way, and they're hurrying up at the end. But this is the thing. If he had lost them, why would they give so much good effort to like hurry up at the end of games and try and make up the deficit like they did in the last two games? Why wouldn't they just fuck the dog and just not give a shit like the whole game? Why are they giving such a good effort, like with the full court presses and the output of their energy? That is the biggest sign of whether they're still bought in or not. Are they still putting out the incredible amount of energy and effort that he requires for them to do on the court? And I would say, yes, they are. So that would be the easiest way of looking at it and saying, they may not totally be happy. Obviously, they're not happy with the losing, and they may not be totally happy with some of the things that are happening, because part of what happens when you're losing is everybody wants to step up and do more to help. And it may be that some of these guys are really inside, like saying, I could do more, Nick. Just let me, just let me, just let me. And they're frustrated in that way. But I don't think it has anything to do with like they don't trust him or that they're not listening to him anymore. It may be just more frustration that they want to help as much as possible, and he's kind of holding them back. So I think because of the effort on the court that they are still with him, and that if they weren't, they wouldn't be trying as hard. It's that simple. Randolph Phillips is saying, blessings, beloved Raptor Freaks, most informative gang. We would continue to find things in our team to hope in and enjoy all season and beyond. Let's go Raptors. That's right. We got to temper the small victories at this point. We got to look at them. Like, look at Koloko with a nice new little baby hook. And he's like getting more developed, and we see him get more time, and we see the signs of future in him. You see the signs of the future in Scottie Barnes and his overpowering low post presence at this point. These are the things we can look at. You can get the small victories in the dark times still. You just got to look for them and understand, well, this is going to add up to something in the future that's going to be great. And understand it. It's kind of like putting all the success and the good things for the team on layaway and understanding that we're patient. We allow things to develop and go in the right direction, that we will get the fruits of those rewards. So that's really how we need to think about this, is just realize that there are good things happening still, and just to look for them. And thank you, Randolph, for your blessings. We always appreciate you coming in and blessing the chat every morning. We really, really do appreciate you, Randolph. Ronadan is saying, one thing to note, Masai in the start of the season stated that this is a development evaluation year. Yes, that's very important. It was Raptors media fans who expect this team to be second round to Eastern Conference champion. Now, I know I'm extremely guilty of this. I mean, I was pie in the sky. I was saying we could be the number one team in the East. And I really did believe that. But in some ways, I was looking at it from the optimal, perfect, everything goes right kind of standpoint. Yeah, we had that potential. But we're seeing how, as the year goes on, how our goals and our expectations for the team need to be changed. Lowered expectations, just like that old clip on Mad TV with the dating. It's like, I don't know if y'all remember that show. It was hilarious. They had a whole segment called Lower Expectations, and then they have like a little blurb with some crazy ass person that's trying to look for a date. And they'd be like, yeah, okay, it's funny. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need to have lowered expectations about the season. I've lowered my expectations in different increments through the season. At some point I was like, all right, now we're not going to be the number one team in the East. Okay, maybe we're not going to be top four. Okay, maybe we're not going to be a playoff team. I've had to go with it at each point where realistically regaging it. But I've always had the optimal ceiling of what I think we could do, and that's what I would push on this channel. And I think you're right, a lot of ways, Ronadan, that the media and the fans are the pressure and the thing that puts it on that. Whereas inside, the Raptors made this whole time, we're like, all right, yeah, we'd like to win and win more games than we lose. But like you said, Masai had already kind of like looked at this year as being a development year, and that this was going to be a trying year for ups and downs. And that he had already expected this to be this kind of year. It's just all of us putting our own idea of what this year could be. And that's why we're so disappointed and up and down about it. But whereas the franchise may have been all along, like, this is part of the plan, that we need to have this year just be a tough year in learning and developing. So, all right, let's see. Callie's saying, I have been a fan since the beginning. I remember fans down on Lowry a lot too. Yeah, we do this, and it sucks. And it's worse now because of the social media, because of Twitter, because of Instagram and Facebook. Kyle Lowry, in some ways, at different points, the Facebook was a problem in different places, but not like it is now at this point. And the players are nodding their heads that, yes, we are looking at what y'all are saying. And I hate that. They should have just been like, no, we don't look at y'all. Because in some ways, you empower stupid-ass fans to think, oh, they might see what I'm saying, and I'm talking out of pocket. Yeah. But thank God. I mean, listen, like, we know, Callie, if you're a fan from the very beginning, we know how bad it can be, and things are still pretty good right now. We need to keep perspective. Seymour saying, America will never let Wembayama come to Toronto. They already said whoever gets him, the team value goes up $500 million. Trust me, they will rig the ping pong balls. That is very pessimistic, Seymour. And, I'd hate to think that it's that rigged. Listen, who knows what'll happen? It may not even be that we get Victor. I'm not even totally shooting for him. I think that if we can get one of the best players in this draft, it doesn't necessarily have to be Victor. I mean, Scoot Henderson looks amazing. That there's a lot of different ways this can go. But I'd love to get Victor if we can make it happen. But I don't want to think that this is, you may be right in some ways. There may be some sort of dark Illuminati in the NBA that's like, we cannot let the Raptors get Victor. Some Gargamel motherfucker somewhere, could be like that. But I don't want to think that. I want to think that we could get at him somehow, some way, and that the NBA would not, dark Illuminati, stop us. Hopefully not. Click saying, see, if we made a trade now, I wouldn't want to give up any picks because there's going to be valuable for us now since we don't have enough time to play catch up. Yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds of different reasons not to be a buyer for the season right now. In fact, that's the part of the reason why we're holding everything up is that everybody looks at us as the most attractive seller on the trade market for this season. And they want to see if they can get somebody from our team to help them put them over the top for their championship aspirations. And OG and Pascal are the two biggest names that we're hearing that people really covet. And they have huge amounts of value right now. And there are really smart deals that are probably out there that Bobby and Masai could take that could really help our team in the long run. It may be hard to part with one of those guys, but they could really be the big move that helps us in the future. I hate to say it, and that's why I don't necessarily want it. But this is how things are kind of looking. And it really is. We're not a buyer on this market. If we fucking are a buyer in the trades this year, fuck that shit. That's stupid. That's why, in some ways, going and getting Pirtle is dumb. That we don't need to do that. That we don't need to be buyers in this trade market. We need to be sellers. Because it's really way more closer to that in some ways than being a top team or being a team that can run for the championship. It's not like we can make one trade and magically it's going to fix all of our problems and we're going to be like one of the top East teams the way we're playing all of a sudden. No, it doesn't work that way. So we do really kind of need to sell this trade period instead of being a buyer. Let's see. Cool Boy saying, so are you saying with 43 games left that the season is over? We have to fight till the very end or heads need to be rolled in this franchise. I don't know. I mean, I'm having a hard time gauging the season. I know that there's a lot of games left in the season, but in a lot of ways, like I said earlier, this is a race from the start. And if you have a lot of stumbling blocks in the middle of the season and it really kind of like slows down your progress in developing and cohesion, and like, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's certain stages of the season for doing different things. And like they said, the first 20 games of the season is figuring out your identity as a team. Well, we could not do that because of injuries. And now we're trying to still figure out our identity, but we're losing with it. Meanwhile, all these other teams have figured out their identities and they're more together and figured out on their game plans. And we're just struggling to just even put together any kind of thing that they'll put together to win. So I'm just trying to be realistic. Trust me, I'm a very super optimistic Raptor fan. And if I think that we have a chance to do something really big, I will say go full throttle and go get it. But at this point, I kind of do feel like we're this team that could be in between the subway doors with one foot on the subway platform and one foot in the subway. And we need to step one way or the other. And I don't think it's smart for us to try and step towards trying to winning this year. And it's just because it's not realistic. It's like a lot of people said, what's the point? You go and bust their ass, you get a good trade, and you lose in the first round. I want to believe in them, and I do ultimately believe in them when they're playing very well and they're cohesive and they're being good like they have been years in the past. But right now, I have no faith in them to do this or get this together because it's not showing up on the court right now, like in games like last night. So forgive me for a little bit of waving the white flag like Tom's been talking about for this season a little early with a lot of games going. I do want them to still practice winning attitude and trying all out to win. If we see the effort on the court with full court pressing and doing everything right on defense, and we still lose, I mean, that's just how it is. Teams aren't good enough to beat other teams because of talent-wise, or they're just not playing as well as the other team. That's just the reality of it. But it doesn't mean that we're trying to lose. It doesn't mean that we're not trying to win. It just means that we don't have enough to add up to win at the end. And that's what's happening recently with us, is we're just not adding up to the wins. So I know what you're saying, and it's kind of like very anti-Raptor freak what I'm doing. But also in the same token, I'm sacrificing the now for the future is basically how I'm looking at it. But yeah, I don't think heads should need to roll either with this. It's not that this is a failure. This is the thing. Everybody thinks that everything's such a success or a failure is one thing. This can be very gray area, is what I'm saying. And that's where other franchises get worse when they're in times of turmoil. They get rid of good things that they have, things that are actually really good and they need to keep, but they panic and they want heads to roll or they want to point fingers. And then they get rid of somebody that was actually part of the solution and the person that would actually help them sooner to get out of it. But they didn't have the foresight to see that, oh, this could happen sooner if we kept this person, but they get rid of them. And then it's even harder. And then boom, you're in a bad place for 3 years instead of 1. That's what I'm saying. We have to really watch out where we step as far as like making changes with personnel. In some ways, we're already building with this group, and this group is very healthy and functional. They like to work together. They like working under each other, like with Nick and Masai. Everybody likes each other, and they like working together. That's not the problem here. It's just that something's not adding up, and we just need to add another ingredient to the stew at some point, or maybe the stew just starts to taste better over time. It's like, ooh, you can make that stew on Tuesday, seal it up and put it in the fridge and let it sit for 5 days and get it out. And you're like, it tastes even better because everything kind of mixed together for a while. And we may need to keep the same ingredients of our stew. It just needs to sit in the fridge for a while and then it'll taste better later. So it's complicated. And I know this kind of goes against my character of who I am to be this negative, thinking about what the possible outcomes for the Raptors are this season. Is very pessimistic for me right now. And that's just from the realistic outcomes on the court and what I'm seeing. And it sucks. I hate it. I wish it was different. Good eye saying my problem with Fred and his attitude that was not happening under Kyle and DeRozan's watch. So I have some questions his leadership. All right. First of all, I'm going to say if anybody had an attitude problem, it was Kyle. And in some ways, Kyle still does. Fred is so much more grounded than Kyle is. Fred is so much more humanitarian. Fred is so much more diplomat, somebody that can actually work with the refs, somebody that can actually work better with his teammates. So I don't get this. He's a very good leader. I do not get why people think he's a bad leader because he's actually an extremely good leader. And it's just the kind of leader that we need in these kind of times because he's so giving and understanding and flexible in his role and changing. Some guys are not good at this, and it's not lip service. He means it. Like if we asked him tomorrow, this wouldn't happen. But if we really asked him tomorrow, we need you to come off the bench, Fred, he would probably do it. And I don't know if somebody like Kyle would do that willingly. He may not like it, and he may do something like what Gary did and say, I'm going to kick so much ass off the bench that I'm going to force you to make me put back in the starting lineup. But he would do it. If Nick asked him, he said, Fred, I want you to be our power forward and you only offensive rebound like Chris does. Okay, Nick, I will go do it. If he told him, I want you to guard Jokic for 48 minutes and just stop him. Okay, Nick, I will do it. I don't think that you guys understand who Fred is and just how willing he is to do whatever the fucking team wants for him to win. And that is the ultimate leader right there. So I completely disagree, Good Eye, with the way you look at Fred VanVleet. He is a good leader. He's sacrificing, and he is willing to do whatever it takes. It's just that we have so much weighing on him for responsible to help us win right now that we live and die with him, whether he does successful, and then fans hate him when he fails, and they turn on him. And that's the whole phenomenon of it. It's not that he's not a good leader. It's not that he's not willing to do what the coach wants. He's willing to do it all. It's just you got to understand it's the failure. People don't like to see him take the balls to take the big shot and miss it, and then everybody can easily blame him and be on his ass. And that's what people don't like, that he failed, he didn't make the shot, so we lost, and boom, I hate him. He's not a good leader now. What? All right, let's see. Nako saying, for anyone who is interested in seeing me do stand-up, I'm on Wednesday at 8 o'clock at Wenona Bar in Toronto. Also, Scoot is over Victor. He thinks Scoot Henderson's better than Victor. I like that, Nako. So, yeah, y'all go see Nakothenacho do some comedy this Wednesday night coming up at 8 o'clock at Wenona Bar in Toronto. If you want to go see Gerald do some jokes and good stuff. I wonder, you have some Raptor jokes now? Gerald, you should do some Raptors jokes. I think they're very funny to see when somebody does like jokes about the Raptors in Toronto. Like, good jokes, not making fun of the Raptors, but, just Raptor related jokes. I always thought if I was going to do stand up, I'd want to be like a Raptors comedian. Like all my jokes would have to do with the Raptors. That would be just part of my identity as a stand up. And then maybe I'd only be good comedian for Raptor fans. I could do a stand-up in front of people that don't know the Raptors, and they'd be like, what the fuck is he talking about? I guess I'd have to really have only Raptor fans at my shows. Jimmy Pope saying, I'm sensing weak mentality. Yeah, this is true. I've played competitive sports my whole life, and I'm just not seeing the genuine emotion of wanting to win these games. Should be getting texts because they're so mad, straight weak. No, I can get behind what Jimmy's seeing here, and I agree. I've seen this too in sports too. Is sometimes teams lose confidence, and that is a huge part of our problem right now, especially with the shooting. A lot of the reasons why we're shooting so badly right now is confidence is completely shot on this whole entire team. That we don't really believe the shots are going in like a lot of teams do. Like a really strong baller, like Jamal Crawford or something. He's going to the ball basket. He's throwing it up. He believes that shot's going to go in. Well, a lot of our guys are tentative. They're throwing shots up and they don't totally believe that their shot is going to go in, and it's not. And that is a real problem. We need confidence. We need to be like, I know I'm going to make this. I'm a baller. I'm going to make whatever. I just really want to ball and make these shots on y'all. That's like the mentality of a scorer in the NBA. And we don't have enough of that. Like we have it with Gary to a degree. But in Fred, when he's cooking, when he's playing well. But even with some ways with Pascal, I don't like how I just wish he was just more aggressive and dominant. That he is very good and he scores a lot, but he's not totally like aggressive and dominant in moments when we really need him. And that's the problem. I think we don't have like the whole thing we've said for years. We don't have a franchise player that takes over and just wins a game. Well, Pascal's so close. But that last little bit that he may need to learn to be the best ultimate player that he can be is learning how to be clutch, learning how to carry his team to a victory no matter what. That doing stuff like Michael Jordan or Kobe would do back in the day. That's what we need from you, Pascal. That's the next evolution of your Pokemon. That we need you to become this clutch, carry water. I will do everything at the end of the game. Now, if you're not going to do it, then I want Scott to develop into this, or OG, or somebody other than Fred and Gary. That we know these guys have clutch in them to shoot shots, big shots, and help at the end. But we don't really want to rely on the three-point shooters to do this. We want to rely on somebody who can get close to the basket with higher percentage shots that is just money. Stuff like Scott does over Brook Lopez. Stuff like Pascal does when he spins and gets to the basket and gets the free throw line or makes the layup. And that's the thing. I want Pascal to step up in this role and stop shrinking away and disappearing. I know they're making it hard on you. But even if you have triple coverage or double coverage on you, there's somebody that's open somewhere and you can facilitate. And you've been doing a good job of this year also. The assist numbers for you are up. So Pascal, you've got to take that weight of being a franchise scorer, the number one guy on our team, and carry us to the victories more. That part of that is why we're not doing this. We need you to do what Fred did for us last year and make clutch baskets near the end so that we make sure we win. And Jimmy is exactly right. We're mentally weak right now. And I don't know how we build that confidence back up in different ways. You're shooting the confidence on our bench. None of those guys on the bench have any confidence right now. And now it's starting to invade our starters. That they don't have confidence, some of them now. Scottie in particular, he's no confidence. Why are you not shooting the open threes, Scott, like you did earlier this season? Because you're not confident in them. It's bad. And Jimmy sees it and I see it, and we know it from playing sports. We've seen what this happens with teams. It's not good. We got to get out of it, and we got to get back to feeling like we have a swagger and a confidence that we will go out there and make baskets, because we don't have it right now. And it's a huge problem. This is why one problem snowballs into bigger problems. And that's what I'm saying. We got to start getting good things happening, and then they'll snowball into better things happening, more and more good things happening. One bad thing happens and boom, snowballs into more and more bad things. Our offense doesn't make shots. Well, it makes our defense have to work harder, and then our defense isn't as good. It just snowballs. All right, let's see. Seymour saying, facts, Jimmy. A raptor stays hungry. They don't look hungry at all. Vegan. I don't know if Seymour's taking a shot at vegans here or something like that. You saying they need to go get more red meat in their diet? Something like that. I don't know. They need to be hungry. I think they are. Honestly, the losing is a really big problem for them right now. And it is part of the snowball that makes it harder. It's like the losing, and then it gets in your head, and then you continue to lose. Oh my gosh, it's just a really bad cycle to be in. And hopefully they can snap out of it in some sort of ways. Little victories here and there. We need victories. Now, I don't think we're going to win more than we lose for the rest of the year still. But when we do get victories, we really need to look at them and understand why we won those games and build off of them. Top saying, I will always support the Raptors and won't stop watching the games, but I question the leadership of Fred. I always get the vibe from his interviews that accountability is an issue. I don't know if we're watching different interviews because I hear Fred taking accountability and saying I can't talk about Scottie, I can't talk about Fred. I can't talk about Pascal, I can't talk about these other people. I can talk about Fred. And I'm not playing well enough. He said it many, many times in the last couple of weeks. I'm not playing good enough. I'm not happy with how well I'm playing. I hate how I'm not playing good enough. I hate how I'm not helping us win at the end of games. I hate that I'm missing open shots at the end of games when I want to make them. He's taking accountability. They're there. You just got to listen, and you will hear him say, I have to play better, and I'm not playing good enough. And he is trying. I mean, he's played better the last 2 games. His numbers have looked way better, and he's making more shots. And he has looked better when he's open. Last night he looked way better shooting the ball because it looked like it was going straight through the middle of the net from time to time. Now he didn't shoot a super great percentage, but it wasn't horrible either. It was better than some of the really bad ones recently. So, I mean, what, 9 of 21? Yeah, he could shoot better, but at least he made 3 threes. And he did kind of get things going, 28 points. Like people have said today, he was a big part of anything good last night that we had going. He really was. Let's see. Rana Dan's saying if Barnes is posted early, Siakam will not have the space to operate. Well, they can switch it up depending on the times coming down the floor. You know, that it's not like that space is just reserved for somebody for the whole game. So you can come down the court, set up Scottie in a post up right off the bat. I think this is the most smart initial play, right? The first possession, get Scottie with his back to the basket. I don't care if they're a littler opponent than him or a mismatch. If you can get him with his back to his basket, even with somebody like Mitchell Robinson on him, and just let him operate in a position where he can try and get a high percentage shot. He may not make that shot, but give him 2 tries. He'll make one of them. And that will bust open the offensive seal in the game. And you won't have any start like what happened with Milwaukee on Wednesday. You bust open and you get a score within the first minute of the game. If you do this, Nick, if you set up Scott with his back to the basket down low, and I don't care if he's got a mismatch or not. Now, the very next possession, you come back, then you do an isolation for Siakam and mix it up. You got to mix it up between the two. But Scottie's the best first start because his is a higher percentage than Siakam's spin move. It's just proven. The stats prove that Scottie in the low post with his back to the basket makes shots more often than Siakam spinning to the basket doing his moves. Scottie will make them more often. And that's why I really see that. G saying, are people still trying to blame Fred? It's very clear. If the starters are not perfect, they can't win. They need a vet center, in my opinion, and some shooters. Yeah, I don't know what they need exactly, but they definitely need shooters. They definitely need better offensive players. The center thing is still something I'm like, look, we've been saying we've needed a center for so long. And yeah, maybe we do. But in some ways, people are kind of like accepting that Scottie's our center at this point. People are saying it more and more. Scottie's playing center. He's the center. Whether it's experts like Will Liu and Samson Folk and all them, they're really characterizing Scottie as our center at this point. So, and I know that maybe is not good, but in some ways it's okay. I mean, we got away with it for 2 years now. It's not so much this year. We got away with it last year. That's for sure. Nako's saying Scottie's still having a better sophomore season than Giannis, though it would be nice if he has a little more confident with shooting. I like this. Nako's going and looking at Giannis's career path with his second season, and he's gauging it against Scottie and what he's doing. And he's saying Scottie's doing better than Giannis was doing in his second year. So there's some perspective for Raptor fans. Think about it that way. Giannis in his second year is not as good as Scottie in his second year, according to Nako and looking at the stats. I'll take it. Space Cadet saying Pascal doesn't need it to operate every single play. They posted Scottie up against a mismatch several times. He didn't take it to the rim enough. He needs to, as opposed to waiting until the fourth quarter. I completely agree with this statement by Space Cadet in all kinds of ways. Exactly. It's not like Siakam needs that space the whole game. They can switch every other possession or whatever. You know, it's just like OG comes in and does a little bit of a drive and kind of post up and put the ball in too sometimes. So it's just a possession by possession, different way you want to go. You want to go Pascal this time down the floor? Okay. You want to go Scottie this time down the floor? Okay. But yeah, I did notice this, what you're saying, that Scottie was getting the position, but he wasn't aggressive enough to get closer to the basket. And he kind of was settling for a little bit a further way of a shot into them. He wasn't like going into them and really getting it there. And he did miss some of those shots that were bunnies that may have gone in like they did the game before. And that would have helped the scoring by the end of it. And you're right. He needs to do this way sooner and stop messing around during the middle of the game. We may need you really badly, Scottie, to be an offensive drive and engine for our team at this point. That we're not making enough points And you can do this. And you need to just be greedy and selfish and just go and dominate and just take the ball. Just give it to him. Just give Scottie the ball, guys. Fuck it. Pascal, mix him in with it, but put the ball in Scottie's hands as much as possible and just let him operate. And find him in different ways that lead him to success easier. Cowboys saying, good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Scottie is the man and the future face of the Raptors in the NBA. I love that sentiment, Bradley, and I believe it. I think that Scottie is very much going to be something overpowering for the NBA. He's going to be very much a problem for other teams the more and more he realizes his low post offensive powers. Click saying, Masai, playing for what? Exactly, playing for what? What we going to fucking half-ass this shit for the rest of this year to get half-assed through the playoffs this year? Last year, we had a chance. We could have beat Philadelphia and gotten out of the first round if it had not been for injuries. This year, it's like everything's got to go exactly right and well. We got to catch some crazy-ass fire of consistency and just good feelings for the rest of the season just to get a record, to get to a position in the playoff standings, to have a good chance with any kind of home court or anything like that. Yeah, what is the whole fucking point in some ways? It's like, in some ways, is don't crumble up the whole paper and just throw it all out, but maybe revise and re-edit and recalibrate your expectations for the season. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like that too. I'm like, playing for what? What the fuck? We want to play in a play-in? What if we lose in the play-in by one game? And in some ways, that may hurt confidence for our players. In some ways, like, oh, we had a one and done, and we just lost to the New York Knicks in the play-in tournament, and we're not even in the playoffs actually. And like, in some ways, I don't want to mess with that. I'd rather them just get time off and just start working on their off season. In some ways, Jimmy's saying, I find it funny. People talk like they know better than a championship front office. I know. Who the fuck are these people? And they don't even know things like there's little things about the players and their personalities and their likes and dislikes. You need to, like, when I do the ref report and I teach you everything about what the refs like and stuff. Well, all these players have private personality profiles. And in some ways they have to interlock, not just the money. You have to think about like personalities and how they come on your team and do they mesh? And like, you don't just get James Harden and bring him to the Toronto. Does he work with us? Does he fit with everything? It's like all these people just see names on the computer screen and they think, oh, this makes sense. And it happens. Well, what if that person is absolutely a horrible character fit for a team and you didn't even take in that account? But these guys are, because they're pros, they're champions. That's a champion front office, as Jimmy said. And you guys don't know better than Bobby. You don't know better than a Masai. So just shut the fuck up with what you think they should do. Let's just wait and see what they do, and we'll enjoy it. And hopefully it'll be good things, and we'll get to better places because of it. G is saying Scottie is not a good shooter yet. No doubt he will get there, but this makes it easy to defend him and his teammates. They lag off him and double others. Scottie, just shoot. Don't worry about missing. Yeah, we've been our best when Scottie is shooting. He makes them sometimes, and they have to make him honest. And that's the thing. Like, listen, he's going to get better as a shooter. That was the knock about him coming in the draft. Oh, he's not a shooter. Well, in some ways they're right, but in some ways they're not, because shooting is something you can learn and get better at. Ask Giannis Antetokounmpo. Ask other people that have come into this league and gotten better and better at shooting. And that's what's going to happen. Scottie's going to become a better shooter, and it's going to make things easier and easier in different ways for the Raptors as a team. And we just need to be patient and allow him to. Maybe this summer he's going to really dedicate even more so to a lot of shooting and getting his three-point shot even better and better this summer. He did work on it a lot this past summer already, and it did improve from his first season this year. It's just he's scared to shoot it right now. Kareem saying, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm blaming everybody. That's right. Let's just blame everybody. Let's blame people that don't even know that the NBA exists because they're headhunters that live in those jungles away from civilization, and they don't even know TV or anything. I'm blaming them too. I don't blame everybody in this world, even little tiny microorganisms up to the biggest gray blue whale in the sea. It's everybody's fault. I'm with you. It's like it's Toronto versus everybody, and it's all y'all's fault. G saying also Nurse needs to come up with schemes that work around this where maybe it gives Scottie more confidence. Not sure if that's even the answer. Mostly believe the roster needs tweaking. Yeah, I mean, we don't know. I don't know. I'm not in there. I could speculate. I could say get Jakob Poeltl. It'll help with our defense and our rebounding down low, and maybe solve a lot of problems. Yeah, I think that Nick does need to set up Scottie more and say, like, look, we're going to go with Scottie now. Like, seriously, this may be smart. Like, if we're going to lose already, let's ride or die with him and let him really, really get a lot of experience trying to be the man and carrying a lot of the water and put the ball in Scottie's hands and just let him score as much as possible. We know Siakam can do this stuff. And sure, we can continue to keep his engine running and do little things, but let's go real heavy on Scott and really heavy on development this year because he can fail as much as he wants and just let him have it and let him get more and more experience because that may be really helpful. Is like losing this year is not a big deal. Let's go ahead and be crazy and let everybody who wants to do things just try it and fail as much as possible because they will learn and be successful because of that failure in the long run. I am all about that. I'm all about that. I don't know about the roster. We'll see what happens. Yeah, Cowboy likes what Kareem said. Nameless saying it could really be the system, though. It's like in hockey when they start overthinking the play and start squeezing their stick, except the exact same thing. It is the exact same thing. Nameless, that's for real, for sure. Is that like the confidence thing makes it so hard? It's like that's part of why it's so hard to get out of that darkness of the badness. Is because you're overthinking. Now you're gripping a little. You're not loose. In some ways, basketball is a sport that's intended to be very loose and like free flowing. Like the energy should be flowing through your body. Like your body's a conduit to take the ball and put it in the hoop. And in some ways, there's blockages with their conduit that they're in their head too much, or like, we're losing too much, or I'm trying, and they can't flow. They're like, they're all like that instead of just like, let the vibes flow, bro. I said something yesterday that really rang true, and I saw some of it at the beginning of the game. We have different leaders on this team, and one of our leaders is Scottie. He's our vibes leader. And we need him to show up at the game smiling real big and kind of happy and kind of thing. I know that at one point he had a reality check this season where it's like, whoa, this is serious, and come in with a better attitude and like be very serious. But in some ways, Scott, we need you to be loose because you're the vibes leader. And when you come in and you're too rigid and you're just kind of, it kind of maybe contributes to what we're just talking about. That Scottie, we need you to be loose and kind of carefree, but also, serious at the same token, and that you're trying and you're dialed in, you're doing all that stuff. I don't understand how you can't have both. Like last season, you were saying on Instagram every day of the game, you'd have a picture of you post and be great for. And it's kind of like setting your vibes. Like we need you to have those positive vibes that just carry on the whole team. And that may have been the difference between this year and last year, is that you really kept those good vibes. You were so enthusiastic about being a rookie in the NBA and being in the NBA family all of a sudden that it really kind of carried a positive vibe energy all through last season that was infectious on our team and really helped with our record and what we did last year. Well, this year, in some ways, your vibes energy is subdued. It's not the same. And this is what I think Nick's saying about coming to the game with that same enthusiasm. We want to see that again. So, and at the beginning of the game yesterday, I saw you in the lineups where the layups before the game and warm up, and you were smiling. And I could see this. And I'm like, whoa, maybe Scottie's getting it. And it's like he understands he's a vibes leader, and you have to bring those good vibes and set the team up with those good feelings. In fact, maybe in these really awkward, bad moments right now, you need to make jokes or have a little levity to help people kind of get perspective and like ease out of it and kind of like, oh, that was funny, Scott. Yeah, this is so ridiculous how we're losing right now. You took a little bit more of the stress and pressure off me in a way in my head because you're bringing good vibes. I don't know. I want to see that. I really do want to see that kind of stuff. And if we can change it, the vibes by having a vibes leader, Scottie Barnes, just bringing that positivity no matter what, and dragging them out of it and just giving them a realistic reality check. In some ways, it's not a negative, like players only meeting or Nick Nurse coming down on them in a film session. It may be like Scottie needs to get everybody together and say, hey guys, listen, I'm going to do a positive vibes check with you guys. And I'm going to just be a power of positivity right now, share the love with y'all, and just make everybody kind of have a recalibration of positivity and feeling good. And maybe that could help things. Instead of all the negativity, oh, we're doing this wrong. Hey, listen, I love you, man. You're good enough. You're strong enough. And God damn it, I love you. And you're going to be so good one day, Stuart Smalley. Maybe that's what Scottie needs to do is come in like Al Franken and get in front of the mirror with Michael Jordan and sit there with OG and say, OG, you're such a good teammate. And you're so good at defense. And we love you. And we know you're going to be so good. And I believe in you. You're good enough. You're strong enough to be defensive player of the year. He just needs to do that with the whole entire team, Scott. Get that vibes check. Do a Stuart Smalley with each guy in front of the mirror and remind them why they're great. And then maybe that gets some results with these problems with being tentative and unconfident on the court right now. Tom's saying, I love putting all the blame on the Noah system. Tear it down, rip it out of there. Never have found that suck button. I know, seriously, maybe we need to do this as Raptor fans. It's like, listen, we need a sacrifice. We will sacrifice the robot, the computer, the android. That's right. This is the way we need to be in the future. Like, don't put humans in the line of fire. Let's put the computers and the machines on fire as we go forward into the future. Maybe they heard me and now I'm in trouble, but who knows? That's what I'm saying. Like, we can blame an inanimate object with no feelings, and I will be all about that. So yeah, let's blame the Noah system. Let's put a bunch of fingers on it. It's your fault, Noah. You're making them think too much about their shots. And I'm all about that. Let's go. We'll go with torches down to OVO and we'll rip it out of the wall and do like a scene in the Office Space with the printer and bang the shit out of it with bats. It's the sacrifice. G saying, in some ways, I would rather this now. At least Masai can really see the holes and needs. I support any decisions they make and direction they take. Yeah. Like, would we rather have the failure and everything come crumbling down like at the end of the season, right before the playoffs or in the playoffs? In some ways, happening now is kind of more timely, and let's get it over with. There's issues with our team. We need to see them. We need to face them. We need to fix them. Sooner the better. And I'm with G on this. And I support any decisions they make and just trust them, and we'll see how they go. Cool Cat saying no player can have success when you have 4 defenders on you every time you get the ball. Teams are using the Nick Nurse strategy on Pascal. He was lucky to get 18 points. Yeah, I totally agree with this with Cool Cat. We can't blame Pascal, but in some ways we do need him to be somewhat superhuman and crazy good, even with those kind of odds on him. Like I said, if they have that many guys coming at him, that means his teammates are open. He needs to find them. Let's see. Kareem's also saying, I want Jakob, Pascal, OG, Scottie, Gary Trent, Freddie, Precious, Boucher off the bench. Let's give up 2 firsts and Birch for Jakob. Let's keep this thing intact. That's not a bad strategy, and I actually really like it too, because Jakob is a big fit for our hole that we need. And you know what? I like everybody on there. They're going to work really well. We know Jakob is a proven commodity on the Raptors as far as how he fits. He already has accrued chemistry and friendship with Pascal and other people that they are familiar with him, and he would be very easy to fit in. And there's a lot less worried of question marks about whether he would fit or not than any other player in the league, in fact, because he's proven to fit here. He's familiar with us. And he very much does know our guys. Like Fred and Pascal were his cohort when he came into the league, much like, Delano and Scottie. That these are the guys that were rookies all together. Jakob, Fred, and Pascal. And rejoining us. And Pascal, and there may be such a huge uptick in Pascal's play having Jakob around that it may be insane. Like, seriously, he may take so much pressure off Pascal in certain ways that Pascal gets to another whole level just by getting Pirtle back on the team. And that, they work so well together, like in different ways, that he would help Pascal get easier open shots. So I am all about it. I mean, Pirtle coming back to the Raptors would be so amazing. It really, really would be. And I fully endorse it, even if it does mean giving up a great Canadian and Raptor fan like Ken Birch that I love dearly. I just know that it will help this team win better. Yeah, that damn Noah system. I mean, seriously. That's what I'm saying. Let's make it in vogue in Raptors Nation to hate the Noah system right now. Stop pointing fingers at Masai. Stop pointing fingers at Nick Nurse, Fred VanVleet. Let's just blame the machine. Fuck the machine. Rage against the machine, y'all, is what I'm saying. Let's rage against the machine. Guardian Trades is saying maybe the team needs some THC vapes. I feel good. Do. We really are getting out of the box, the hot box, to figure out how we can help our team. Yeah, I don't know. THC vapes. I don't know if McKechnie's got those in his like little medical cupboard. He's like, here, Scottie, you need this. That'd be crazy. G saying Lowry in 2017 had almost the exact same shot attempts and assists as Fred does. And as the roster around Kyle evolved, so did Kyle. Not fair to compare a team with Serge, Gasol, Kawhi to this young core. Yeah, that's true. The personnel was a lot better. They talked about this team a lot yesterday on the JJ Reddick podcast with Fred, and it's very interesting some of the stuff they were saying. Like the way Fred described the championship team, he's like, you have Kawhi, Danny Green, Mark Gasol, Serge Ibaka. These are all all-time players, and then you have me and Pascal, an OG on the bench, and like the way he described the team, it like really makes it sound like there's a huge talent gap between where we are right now and where they were with the championship team. And then also the other thing they talked about with the championship team was very interesting is how much of an impact it had on the NBA with copycatting. That a lot of the reasons why we're at this point in the NBA, like with the way they think teams are and stuff, is these teams have really been ripping off the Raptors from 2019 and trying to emulate them in different ways, whether it's the roster build, whether it's the defensive scheme, because they talked a lot about the scramble rotation defense and how we were the only ones that were doing that, like maybe back then. But now at this point, everybody saw how effective it was in the 2019 playoffs when we won the championship, and they're all doing it now. Like if you noticed last night, the Knicks, part of the reason why their defense is better is because they're scrambling to the open guy in rotation like we do. And that even like a year or two ago, a lot of teams didn't do this scramble rotation defense. They were very lazy. They basically just played, and then guys would get open and they'd take open shots. Well, it's not the case anymore. That's part of why it's so hard to score for us right now is teams are taking our playbook for defense and using it against us. They have copycatted us to the point of the 2019 season to this point now, a couple of years later, that's what they're doing. That the copycatting of us is catching up to us in a way, and we're not innovating enough ahead of it to do better than what's coming up. And they're learning from us, and they're using what we were doing before against us now. And that was very interesting, and it made so much sense when they were talking about it. I was like, yeah, every single defense in this league now does a crazy rotation, like catch-up scramble kind of thing like we've been doing for a couple years now. And in some ways, that's made it harder to get open shots just in general in the league. Our copycatting our excellence. But yeah, highly recommend watching the JJ Reddick podcast this week with Fred VanVleet. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there. And they talk about the importance of the 2019 champion Raptors and how they've affected and changed the game in the last couple of years. It really has. It's crazy. Like if you think about how influential the Raptors championship team was, and how it's changed things, it really makes sense now why the league is becoming what it's becoming. That we had a big part in it, actually. It's kind of crazy. Nameless said, sometimes in hockey, when you try and make the perfect shot, you start squeezing your stick and shoot way worse. Sometimes the best play is to not try and fine-tune it and just get it on the net. Yeah, it's true. Like in basketball, I don't know enough about hockey. It's not a sport I know very surface level about. In basketball, I know when you're holding the ball, like your touch and what you put in with your fingertips on the ball can really impress the spin and the inertia and the English on the ball. We saw Fred make an amazing shot last night where he was turned away from the basket and he laid it in and he flipped it with the right angle off the backboard that it went in. That's such a tough shot to make. Alvin was marveling at it and talking about it. And that really is from feel and how you make the energy of your hands come off on the ball to affect the ball and how it spins and its inertia and everything is so important. Now, think about it this way. If you're doing something like what he's describing in hockey, where you hold the stick too tight and it messes up your hockey shot, well, what if you're holding your arms too tight or your hands too tight and you're not loose enough with everything to have like the vibes come through your hands to put into the ball to make it have kind of like a good juju, the basketball gods, quote unquote, to roll into the basket. That maybe you're so rigid and tight, it's like, and then it like rolls right out of the rim. And it's partly because the energy that you're transferring into the ball to move it to the basket is rigid and stiff and just kind of like stressed out like you are because you're going through a tough time. That's really the phenomena of it. It's like you want to be loose to a degree so that the ball can kind of find its way in, like what Nameless is describing, and very much in the hockey world. It's a similar thing. It's like if you're rigid and not loose, you will fucking miss. You got you gotta be you gotta be flowing, bro. You gotta go with the flow. G saying he have to give credit to Randle, the way he's about those threes over the defender. He shot high and was still able to keep an arc. It was impressive, to be honest. Yeah, I like the guy in some ways. I would never want him on our team because I do know he's a problem in personnel kind of ways. But talent wise and the way he plays, he's very overpowering and a great offensive player. It's kind of interesting his career path because he really was somebody the Lakers hoped would become something great. If they had more patience, they maybe could have dealt with him and he would have been still there. But they didn't. They need to make deals and move people around and stuff like that. But yeah, in some ways, I bet you the Lakers wish they really had him right now. But yeah, he's an interesting player. I would never want him on the Raptors, but he is somebody to be respected. And it really is the kind of thing like where it's like some nights he'll be lazy and he won't show up and do anything. But some nights if he's motivated, he's extremely dangerous. And I think he was motivated last night, and that was part of the whole thing with him starting so hot. Cool Cat saying there is a disconnect with fans' expectation and Masai and Bobby's plan. Masai said we are developing and we have a very young team, extreme highs and lows. We are way off our winning path. We are building. Yeah, we have to reassess and recalibrate. I know that we on this channel, like I said, we had different ideas about things going into the season, and we really thought the best. We really wanted the best things to happen to them, and we thought they could. Well, we've had bad injury luck. We've had bad luck in different other ways. And people see the roster and they say, well, they're all back now. They're healthy. They shouldn't be losing anymore. Well, we have other fundamental problems that have come about partly because of these issues that have happened this season already. And yeah, there is a disconnect definitely between the franchise and the team and what they're doing and what they're thinking about with the future and what the fans want right now. And yeah, it is what it is. They're going to be idiots. All we can do is be who we are. We're here this morning. We're talking about it. And at least, if anything, they can come and listen to us and say, okay, there are still some sane fans out there that aren't absolutely batshit crazy, like some of these other people out there right now, the way they're acting out. Listen, if you have a problem with how the Raptors are losing right now, just watch the Raptor Freak every morning. We will help you get your head on straight about this and deal with it in a coping way that is productive, positive, and helpful towards our fan nation and our team getting better in the long run. You know, because a lot of stuff that some people are doing right now is not helpful. In fact, it's downright like the opposite. It's very much damaging. And that's what everybody has to think about. What are your motives for what you want for the Raptors? Once again, do you want them to win championships? You want them to be a good team? Okay, well, don't damage them with how you go about how you want that. Go about it in a positive way, and good things will happen. All right, let me keep going with the comments. We're going to talk all this out today because we got lots to get out of us because of all this misery and sadness. And it is what it is. We just do what we do. All right, let's see. Nako's saying, I think it's true that role players make better coaches than star players. We find the next Steve Kerr. Let me think about this. Yeah, maybe Steve Nash isn't a good coach because he was such a high level player. Like Magic wasn't, like Larry Bird wasn't. Michael Jordan, he was very, very brief with his coaching career. Michael Jordan, he did not like it at all. And that could be true. That could very well be true. So I don't know about Steve Nash. But yeah, I don't know. Earl Watson, I'm not even trying to get a new coach overall. I just want to get maybe a new offensive coach underneath Nick Nurse to help him. G saying, what do you think of the new 10-day signing? He shot 41% from three on 6.3 attempts per game over 11 games. Yes, G League, but that's still good. I hope it translates even a bit off the bench. Well, he's drafted by the Spurs. That's always a good sign right off the bat. I know he's somebody that we pre-draft worked out and interviewed, and we very much liked him. So obviously he's on a list in the Raptors organization of somebody that we covet and somebody that we've kind of wanted to get all along in different ways, whether it was draft him or get him like how we have now. Now, I also know that the Spurs got rid of him just in October. So it's not like he's been out there free for too long. And like he has been out there just since October. So it's only a couple months he hasn't been with the team. And that means he's still pretty fresh. And that maybe that they got rid of him just because they needed to make room for some sort of thing that they want to do with their roster. Now, it could be similar to Justin Champagny with us. Now, the thing about Joe is that he was a very, very big player in Iowa. He had very much good success in his collegiate career. And he is very much like one of the things that they painted about, like coming into the draft, the year you got drafted, is one of the best pure shooters in that draft class. In fact, he has the confidence to say himself, I believe I am the best shooter in this draft. He said that at that time. And in a lot of ways, what he said has been backed up by evidence that he is a very confident shooter. And that's why I love this move because it's right on the nose of one of the biggest, hugest problems we have on this team currently, this confidence problem we're having with our shooting. So I really hope he can show up. And what way I described it yesterday with the Facebook chat, the Raptor Freak Facebook chat we have on Facebook. If y'all want to join it, if you're not in there, if you're on Facebook, find me on Facebook and I will add you to this chat. We do an updated chat on there and I give like daily lineup notes and Monique adds stuff to it and Isaac Campbell. Everybody that's on there is adding information about what's happening with the Raptors as it happens. Well, on there, I described Joe as possibly being a slightly taller Matt Thomas role on our team. That he can shoot threes like Matt Thomas, but because he's 6'6", he's a little bit taller, and also he likes to rebound. That's the other thing about Joe that's interesting is that he can get rebounds. He'll go down there and mix it up and go get rebounds. And his defense is, I've heard two different things about it. That may be his biggest weakness is that he's not the best defender. But I've also heard on the other side of the coin that he is a very eager, aggressive, active, energetic defender also. So to me, it sounds like he's not maybe naturally talented on the defensive end, but he has a get after it that makes up for it. So I think that he'll be interesting. I don't know if he's going to be only down at 905 and he's just going to be kind of like, and even if he's with the main roster, he could just be in like Jeff Doughton purgatory also, like any of these other guys. I don't know. Until Nick starts opening up the doors for the whole team to come in and get a chance to play, I won't believe in Joe coming to save us because the door may not even be open for him to stroll in and try and do it. But I wish it was. I was like last night, we're in such bad shape. Just fucking get him in a uniform and get him out there tonight and let him play. I would have loved to have seen Joe Weiskamp come out there and start shooting some threes for the Raptors last night, but maybe it was too soon. And maybe it's not in the plans that way. So I don't know what to expect here. Is he going to be a 905er or is he going to get time on the main team somehow, some way? And I really do see him as like a Matt Thomas with a couple more inches on him. So we could maybe get that roll going with him. It sounds like it'd be very helpful. Malachi's cold again right now. Boom, give him his minutes and get him out there. We saw Malachi not get the second half minutes and Jeff Doughton got those little bit of minutes. That was very interesting. That in some ways that signaled Malachi, you know what? Your leash is starting to run out on like not doing well enough to get this time in the rotation. And now your second stint in the second half is going to Jeff Doughton Jr., which I was like, that's what I want to see. It's not that I want to see Malachi do badly. I do want to see Jeff Doughton get out there, though. All right, that's kind of how I look at it with Joe Weiskamp. Yeah, la 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 la. Call nurse. You want me to call nurse? Yeah, I guess I should call nurse. We did lose. Where's my phone? I'll just use. All right, hang on a sec. All right, let me see what I can do. All right, I got his number. I got it. All right, let's see. It's ringing. Hello. Hey, Nick, how you doing? I know. Listen, I know you don't like to talk about the game, the night of the game, but you don't mind talking about the game a little bit with me this morning? Yeah, I'm on the live stream with everybody right now, and I want to know one thing right now. Actually, you guys just got Joe Weiskamp. Yeah, he's from Iowa. I know you guys are like Iowa guys. That's pretty cool. I know that's probably part of the reason why you got him. Do you think you'll actually play him? Like, do you think you'll actually give him a shot, like in a Raptors game, and like let him actually get some time out there, and maybe we could see him hit some threes for the Raptors? I mean, we really need threes right now, and it sounds like you guys getting Joe yesterday sounds like that's a step in the right direction. Like can he like come and like maybe like in a little bit of a Matt Thomas role and just kind of come out there and like make a couple of threes real quick for us? Maybe like when we're having problems getting scores, he could just put them in. And like maybe he kickstarts our offense by making like 2 or 3 threes real quick. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll take it. All right. Well, hey, listen, you guys have a good practice. And I hope everybody stays healthy and you guys just get things figured out. I mean, Portland tomorrow. Let's go. Yeah. All right. All right. All right. Thanks, Nick. All right. Bye. All right. All right. I'm not going to tell you what he said about what he's going to do with Joe. But yeah. All right. All right. There you go. I called Nick. Thanks, Cowboy, for reminding me to do the new segment. Call Nick Nurse after a loss. Yeah. Let's see what's going on. Yeah. Well, I hope he does what he says. I mean, yeah, he told me, I don't want to tell you exactly what he said, but I hope he does what he says. Hopefully it'll work. G saying, I just checked. 24 other guards attempt more shots a game than Fred. If they were going in and they were winning, this probably wouldn't be a topic. Yes. That's a big part of it. Is like he's failing this year. And that's why everybody's got daggers and targets on Fred. If Fred was making the shots like he was last year, he'd be an all-star. Everybody love him, and they'd be celebrating him like crazy. But because he fails in the last moment at the end of the game, everybody wants to point a finger at him and come after him. And that's really what a big part of it is. Country Kong saying, I honestly thought Fred played great last night. It became apparent to me at times that Fred was actually needed out there for us to score. I feel like people just need a boogeyman these days. Yeah. And that boogeyman is a big, unfeeling piece of metal that's on the wall at the OVO Center right now. That's the boogeyman, Raptor fans. You want to blame somebody? You want to point fingers? There's a man named Noah. You need to go blame him. You need to go down there. Let's get the axes and the bats, and let's go and overtake them at the OVO Center and take that thing off the wall. Take it out in the parking lot, kick it down the street into Lake Ontario at Sunnyside Beach. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go get you, Noah. You're on our list, the hit list. We're going to come get you, Noah. Yeah. You want to blame people? Raptors fans are blaming Noah. Yeah. If you don't know who Noah is, that's fine. But we're going after Noah. That's who we're coming after now. That's right. We're going to blame a boogeyman named Noah. Seymour saying, my girl's brother got a Vince Carter Raptors jersey for Christmas from his girl. I could tell he wasn't very happy because it wasn't an active player. My bad. That's hilarious. Yeah, it's always funny when like people that don't know sports give sports related gifts to people, and they're really like kind of like, oh, okay, thanks. Like thanks for this Amir Johnson jersey, like 10 years too late. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious, Seymour. I can see that whole picture of like opening it up and like, oh, thanks, 15. Oh yeah, thanks, Carter. That's not a bad jersey to get though. It's like funny, like they do the tangerine fan angle, and I saw this little girl wearing a Vince Carter purple jersey, just like one of these ones behind me, 15. I was like, where the fuck did she get that jersey? You're way too young to be wearing that jersey. That little girl. And I was like, oh, dad's just it's a little bit abusive. You're putting the daughter in a Vince Carter vintage jersey like that. That's the way I was thinking in that moment. That's hilarious, though, that story. G saying, when Fred left for 2 minutes only in the second half, the Knicks went out on their runs. This Fred thing is now out of hand. We can't keep blaming a player or players at this point. That's right. That's why we're going to blame a machine. That's right. We're blaming a machine, even if it sounds so fucking crazy and so weird. Oh my gosh, Monique. I hate to read what you just put. Yes, Tristan Thompson's mom passed away. This is horrible because Tristan Thompson's mom just saw Adriana like 2 months ago. They had the gala at Epilepsy Toronto, and Tristan Thompson's sibling has epilepsy, and he's a big supporter of Epilepsy Toronto here in Toronto. And they just had a function like 2 months ago, and she was at the function, Tristan Thompson's mom, and talked to Adriana like just 2 months ago. This is crazy. In fact, this may have been the thing that Adriana got COVID at. I'd hate to hear that she died of COVID. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad about this. I know Tristan Thompson in some ways is not somebody to be respected because of the way he lives his life with baby mamas and what he's done and stuff like that. But this is really sad and awful. And I hate to hear this, especially for the epilepsy community here in Toronto, because she has been a huge part of helping donate and her time and effort and money to that cause. And I am so sad to hear this. Rest in peace to Tristan's mom and the whole Thompson family. I hate hearing this. This is awful. I'm going to have to let Adriana know. I don't know if she knows this. Jody White is saying, if we're in 6th to 8th draft pick range, we want Keontae George from Baylor. Bulldog and bucket getter. Reminds me of Mathurin. Destroyed Canada by himself at Global Jam. Look it up on YouTube. All right. Jody White is already scouting this draft. I have heard that like there's a good draft pick pretty much from 1 to 8. that is not a bad place. And that's what I'm saying. If we're one of the top worst 8 teams in the league by the end of the year, well, we should be getting a very good quality player. And like Nako said, he thinks Scoot's better than Victor. And in some ways, he may be right. In some ways, Fred's celebrating Scoot Henderson on his Twitter this week. Well, look out, Fred. He may be the guy who's coming to take your spot. Nameless is saying, I was thinking we are struggling because our schemes could be overly complex and maybe we lack the personnel to execute it. You know what? I think it's the opposite in some ways. I think that in some ways they're not complex enough. I think that we have such intelligent, like high quality, smart players that in some ways Nick Nurse's laissez-faire kind of attitude about how he runs the team is like, oh, go out there and do what you like to do, just do it, is bad. I feel like Scottie's a young person, like much like me, that loves structure. That if he had more structured ideas of this is concretely what you do in any situation, he would thrive more. And that in some ways, I'd like them to be more complex and more dialed in and more specific about each and everything that they're doing out there than being kind of wide open with like, well, let's just let whatever happens, happens. Well, fuck that. When you let whatever happens happen in your life, sometimes it don't go the way you want. And if you can be aggressive and forceful about what you want to happen out there in a very pinpointed, focused way, that may be way better and maybe what is holding us up from winning right now. That it's too ambiguous and wide open and not complicated enough to say, like, okay, they're just like, go do it, guys, go do it. Well, maybe you need to tell them exactly what they need to do and make it more complicated in some ways, because in some ways they want that challenge. I think Scott would love to have a complicated thing that he has to try and hit those marks to make it. And maybe there isn't enough structure around him for him to thrive as best as he could. So in some ways, I would make the opposite argument that they need to make it more complicated for them. That it's been too not complicated and too wide open for what could happen, and they need to fill that in more with more definitive things. That is the goal. This is the exact thing you need to be doing on this and this. And maybe they do this, and I don't know. And I'm just talking to my ass. But to me, I feel like it being ambiguous and wide open is worse than being very fine tuned and very specific. And that may be part of the struggle on our team right now. Is what is it? What is it? Is it too complicated? Is it too focused? No, I don't think so. I think it's way too wide open about what should happen. G saying nameless. I think you may be right, and also they are very young and raw, so developing at the same time. Well, he could be right, and seriously, it could be either way. Maybe it is too complicated, and they're having too much trouble. But they're intelligent guys. That's the thing. Like if they were dumb, I would be like, yeah, maybe it's too complicated for them. But they're very, very smart people. And I don't think it's too complicated for them. In fact, they probably love the very deep dig on X's and O's and ideas and what you do in this and this. So I think it may be the opposite of what he's saying. Name is saying, I think they're going to stick the Frenchman in Canada. That'd be cool. He'd already have like able to go to the grocery store and he'd be able to read all the items and not worry about it because French is there for him. In some ways, it would make his life easier to come to Canada, Victor. So come on up and go, we'll go to the grocery store and you can get milk in a bag. And we'll do that whole thing, milk in the bag. MK saying Scoot and Scottie, baby. I'm a big Scoot fan. Scoot and Scottie. There's something to that. Scoot and Scottie. I know Scottie knows who Scoot is. I mean, I saw him talk about him this summer on Twitch. There was a little bit of time where he saw Scoot on the G League Ignite, and he was like, whoa, this guy's pretty good. Jody White saying, who's excited like me to see Shaedon Sharpe playing against the Raptors tomorrow? Declared for an NBA slam dunk contest. Even Americans are pumped for that. Has 50-plus family and friends coming. Whoa, he sounds like he's going to be getting up for the game. I'll do my research on Portland tonight, and I'll have the preview tomorrow. I have no idea what's going on with them, other than I have heard this about Sharpe entering the NBA slam dunk competition already. And some people are already saying, just give it to him. It doesn't matter who else shows up for the dunk competition this year. Shaedon Sharpe is going to win it. Yeah, you go ahead and show up. You want to come and try? This dude's already won. He hasn't even stepped on the court, or we're not even close to the All-Star. Everybody thinks he's already going to win it. But that's cool. Yeah, you're right. This is kind of a homecoming. He's going to have a lot of people at the game, and he may get up for this game really big, like a Dylan Brooks would or something like that. So that's cool that you're looking forward to this. And thanks for bringing us back to the present and looking at tomorrow, what's ahead of us. Portland Trailblazers will have the preview tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. with all the refs, all the latest lineup news, maybe a couple of keys to the victory. There's a lot of keys to the victory right now. Monique saying Patrick Mutombo said it best, just win. That's right. That's what Steve and I say every day. Just win. I mean, it could be the ugliest game in the world, like the Milwaukee game, the way it started, and we still won at the end of the game. It would have been just fine. We just won. Well, we didn't. We've had opportunities to win close games recently, and we have not, and it sucks. I hate it so much. Name is saying if Wemby goes to Toronto, that could be the initial step of another NBA team in Montreal. I could see that. That's not a bad idea. Seymour saying the fan part too being filmed in Toronto. We joke right now. Joke. We will never wave the white flag attitude. Diehard Raptors fans here. You know what? It's not even that we're waving the white flag as a team forever. It's just we're waving the white flag on this particular season. And that's kind of what Tom Duke has been saying with his white flag imagery recently. Surrender to the fact that we're losing as fans. We can't control it once again. And in some ways, we have to just wave the white flag as far as like, we're not going to be so dialed in emotionally. That's kind of more when I talk about surrendering. It's not that I want the team to surrender. I want the fans to surrender and just give it up and just like take a step back, take a moment, maybe go for a walk. You know, that's what I want to happen. Is just take a step back. Come on now. Basketball Rewind. Good to see another new name in the stream. We're here every morning talking Raptors, even if it's very painful. We will be here. Okay, it's Van Hoot. All right, Van Hoot's under a new name. I like it. All right. Freak, glad to see you recognize some of this stuff. Some people take it too far, but you are wrong about Kyle. He grew into a huge leader, especially within the locker room. Respect the growth. Yeah, I should have elaborated the whole thing as I was trying to say. I'm talking about Kyle when he came to Toronto. I'm not talking about the journey he went on while he came here. He really did turn into somebody by the end of it. But also in the same token, I'm still saying, like, yeah, in some ways he was a shoot first point guard. But I'm talking about his attitude problems earlier in his career, that Julius kind of has that similar kind of problem. Like, he still does to a degree, but he's gotten more mature as he's gone. But yeah, I have to recognize that Kyle Lowry was on a maturity journey to a degree in his NBA career, and he's come a real long way. But I'm talking about Houston, Memphis Kyle, and then very early on Toronto Kyle. More in that way. He did grow into a huge, great leader, and I honor him as a GOAT and all kinds of different things too. I mean, maybe didn't elaborate what I meant. I meant kind of more that his journey is similar to like Julius's, as far as like getting more maturity and being a better team player with your team because you kind of just grew up as you got older in the league. Let's see. G saying, I love Kyle, but people forget he left mid playoff game, fought with so many refs, had such an attitude, but also worked for him and grew into a good leader. Yeah, that edge, it was double edged. It was good in some ways, and it was very detrimental in some ways also. But in a lot of ways, that's an edge that we need right now, is that bulldog edge, that edge that like that he really fucking cares, and maybe to the point where it's toxic and it hurts the team, but he at least really cared and he gave it all. Yeah. Monique saying forever and a day, Raptors regardless. That's right, Monique. You just keep going as a diehard no matter what. Basketball Rewind saying Pascal shouldn't need to do all of that. The NBA is so talented today. Hard for a one-man to show to do it all. Ask Luka. They need to take a second and assess things. By the way, Barnes and Siakam work because both play make. Yeah, and they do different weapons. Like if they were very similar, I would be like, okay, they're kind of stepping on each other's toes for like their roles, but they have very different roles and they do very much work. I think that anybody who's coming at the problems with the Raptors as being as guys don't fit, like if people start saying, oh, Scottie and Fred don't fit as players, they're wrong. People say, oh, Scottie and Pascal don't fit as players. They're wrong. I don't think it's that these guys don't fit together because they all really do very much fit together. There's other problems with the team, and it's not as easy as simply saying, oh, Freddie and Scottie can't play together because they're not a good fit together on a roster. That's bullshit. All of that's bullshit. The problems are other things like the Noah system. Have you heard of this diabolical machine from the future called the Noah system? It is really wreaking havoc on the confidence of our jump shooters on our team. Yeah, Noah system. It's the evil. Yes, blame the Noah system. It's all your fault, Noah. Damn you. Oh, I hate you so much. Tom Duke saying Fred VanVleet said in his interview, I actually takes 10 players to win in this league. I agree. One to three of them have to be stars. Yeah, that's kind of that was kind of a knock on Bobby Webster in some ways. And there were a little bit of veiled kind of knocks in what Fred was saying in that interview yesterday on different things that have changed. And that was one of the things he's saying. He's right. Like he said, the expanded roster to 17, 2 extra spots. At this point, you really need 10 good players that come in. Like you need a good starting 5, and then you need 5 good role players that can be counted on. And if we're really counting our team right now, well, presently, right in this very exact moment right now, we get maybe 2 good, reliable starters out of the 5 on a night-to-night basis, and nobody on the bench. So we're getting 2 players when other teams may be getting 10 good players in their games. How are you supposed to win with those odds? And he's exactly right. And I don't think that we don't. It's not that we don't have these players. I would say that we have like 9 or 10 good players on this team, but they're not playing at the right levels, or they're not being trusted enough. Like Chris Boucher, Precious. You say the starting 5, and you can say Chris, Precious, Koloko, Thaddeus, Wancho. I don't know. Maybe it is hard to get those last 3 of the whole 10. I mean, Precious and the 5 should definitely be like dependable night in, night out. Those 6 right there. Chris, usually, yes. But for some reason, Nick doesn't confidently always have it. That is mixed bag. I don't know what to expect with him. Koloko, he's a rookie. All right, So, but that was an interesting quote, and I'm glad you brought that up, Tom, because that is something that we should be looking at with what's going on with us and how Fred sees why we're having problems. He wants more of our guys to step up and be like trustworthy to be counted on. And I think that's a big part of it. G saying, think of Al Horford center, steadies the youth, mentors, plays tough, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, doesn't need to be a star, a good glue guy that doesn't panic. I like that. Al Horford would be a great fit on our team in a lot of different ways, but Boston's got him and they get those benefits and stuff. But I would not be upset if Al Horford was in a Raptors jersey. He's not on my list that isn't allowed to be here, although he is a little aged. And there's not much left in the tank. And it may not be worth it to get him in here and acclimated. By the time he's done, he may be looking really old. So it could be somebody similar. And I know that the type you're describing, G, and that does make sense in a lot of ways. I think that you're right, that character profile is about accurate for what could really help us. Cowboys saying, we are the 3rd youngest team in the NBA. Everybody get off the kids' backs. Let's go, Raptors, and keep preaching positive, Lex. Let's go. Yes. Bradley, yes, we are youngsters. We are little babies, and we got to learn. Cool Boy saying, do you like any other sports? I'm a huge professionally wrestling fan, but I'm not a fan of the current product. I don't watch a wrestling anymore. I know that's not really a sport, but I am a huge pro wrestling fan. I know a lot about the history of wrestling. I went to many, many matches as a kid. When I was a kid in the 80s, I went to, because I lived in Florida, I went to a lot of NWA matches, saw Ric Flair, the Road Warriors, Dusty Rhodes in their heyday in the middle of the 80s, while also coming up to Canada to visit relatives up here and going to WWF matches and seeing Hogan and the Honky Tonk Man, the $1 Million Man, Macho Man. So wrestling is probably the other one. If I had to rank the 4 major sports and how much I like them, basketball is way far and beyond and above the other ones. And at this point, I don't really pay much attention to the other 3 that much. But if as far as entertainment value and what I enjoy about them, I think football's second, even though I boycott them because of Kaepernick. Baseball's 3rd and hockey's 4th. I have a little bit of a disdain for hockey in different ways, partly because of the Leafs. But, baseball is very boring also. I went to a Blue Jays game this past season. I was so fucking bored at that game, and it was just really hard to be there. So it's tough. I think basketball is my favorite sport. I don't like soccer either. So it really is. My favorite sports would be basketball and football. But I like college football more than the NFL at this point. And that, and I kind of like baseball and hockey are okay. And I've been in both those sports at different times. But yeah, that is your answer to a degree. Cool Cat saying, I remember Golden State missed the playoffs for 2 years and won a chip after. That is a roadmap to keep our good players and add around the margins, center and some shooters. I love this comparison. I think the Cool Cat's exactly right. The Warriors in some ways are a good model for how we should treat our roster in like development. Wow, we just won a championship and we're still trying to figure things out to get back to it. And that this is very true that, they did a good job of holding the ship down and not pointing fingers, not busting it up completely and destroying it and keeping it intact enough to come around through very bad losing to come back up and get another championship. And if we can mimic that or follow any of the things that they did well in this process, That would be really good. And I think that one of the main takeaways from what Cool Cat's point is, you don't throw away your really good players that were a part of that nucleus. That you don't trade Draymond Green just because you're having really shitty seasons the last couple of seasons. Because boy, all of a sudden, boom, you're back in the championship picture and you win another one. And that we may need to look at guys like OG, Pascal, and Fred that same way. Is what I'll tell Raptors fans. Seymour saying, did dude fail his PDE test? Cavs wasteman player. I haven't heard any news about Donovan Mitchell's PED test. I think that he passed it. I think we could just infer, since we haven't heard anybody come out and make a big deal out of it. But then again, I don't know the turnaround on how long it takes for those results to come back. So maybe there will be some news down the road. But for right now, no, he has not failed his test, the Wasteman Ute. Grace Edward is here. Good to see Grace Edward. And she's backing up Cool Cat and saying, you're right, Cool Cat, about the Warriors and what they did in between championships, between having a loss, a couple of losing seasons, didn't make the playoffs for a couple of years. And whoa, they did a nice little U right up there. Can we do this too, Raptors? It would be like championship. All right, really good season next year. And then Tampa. And then, good season after Tampa, and then kind of back down, and then come back up. Maybe like a W with us a little bit. Let's see. Click saying, so I'm looking at the NBA mock drafts, and we are currently predicted to choose Ozar Thompson, a great two-way player, can finish very well, and has lots of versatility on defense, above average passing. Oh, that's cool. Listen, I really want to get a big man. Like, I know we just got Koloko, but in some ways, I want to get another big man. I want to get a couple of big men because I hate this whole idea. It was like, we just got one center and we're all good. Well, let's get a couple of guys, because really part of what has been so good about teams like Milwaukee is they have so many big dudes, and we just don't have enough of them in general. So I would not be upset if we drafted 2 centers 2 years in a row. In some ways, I don't really want another 6'9" guy at this point. We really have so many 6'9" vision guys. In some ways, we really do need to draft for either the 1 or the 5 this year. And then in getting Scoot or getting a Wet Victor fits both of those. And I'm not totally that keen on getting a two-way that's kind of in the middle necessarily. Nameless is saying, teams are using our own weapons against us. They lack their own ingenuity. Well, everybody's stealing from everybody in different ways. I'm sure Nick's stealing stuff from other people too, but it is very because Nick is so ballsy and very experimental. He is definitely the guy that people are looking at the closest. Like, he is really known for this, and people are stealing from us, and they're finding success from things that we figured out in their own places too. G saying, I don't do Twitter, but I heard Doug Smith was taking jabs at Scottie during the game, and I checked it out, and sure enough, he was. Why bother doing that? Because obviously he is like maybe dark Illuminati part of the NBA that wants to fuck up the Raptors. Just because Doug Smith covers the Raptors and he's done it for a good chunk of his life doesn't mean he cares about them winning or not. He is really kind of a nefarious force. The things that he did during the Vince Carter turmoil was very detrimental and caused a lot of the damage. And this is part of the reason why Raptor fans are very wary of him when he's talking about Scottie Barnes. Is this, Doug, you had a part in Vince Carter leaving us. And are you trying to set up some shit again now? Because this is what it looks like. And I don't know how much you hear people like me, but maybe you do need to come and listen to my channel. Maybe it'll recalibrate your whole perspective on what your job is as a journalist for covering the Raptors. That sure, you should be fair and unbiased, but also understand you have a market that you write for. And when you're making stupid ass little comments in your Twitter in the middle of the game, you're turning off your market audience and people hate you. And do you really want people to hate you because, are you just a monopoly that you just get the opportunity to just be the voice of the Toronto Star for the Raptors? That you don't care if people like you or not? That you're just so ensconced in power in that position? Fuck you. You're going to find out real quick. Because I've already called for a boycott of your newspaper because of your irresponsible opinions on Twitter and stupid ass shit that you've been saying for a couple years now. So I say, look, let's put our power where our money is. Stop reading the Star. Stop supporting the Star in general because of Doug Smith. And that will hurt him. And maybe he'll either lose his job or he'll get his act together and he'll start doing things in a way that the fans would like him to do more in that way and stop being a jackass. You don't need to make a little dumbass joke about Scottie making a dribble like that. When he makes that dribble, actually, a learned basketball person would see that move and be like, wow, that's really good. And when he does get that move to work to a basket being made, it's going to be so awesome. It's like you're kind of like a killjoy. You see a little kid out on the street practicing basketball and they want to learn and get good. And you may see them doing little fancy dribbles between their legs. And you're like, oh, kid, you need to just stick to the fundamentals. You'll never make it that way or something like that. Is that who you are in this situation? Fuck that. Don't rain on that little kid's dream and parade of who he wants to be and how he wants to play. You limit the Scottie by how you think in your mind. So let Scottie do those little moves. They work. Trust me, they shake people off. He looks like Earl Monroe to a degree with some of the shit he does on the court. And I know you know who Earl Monroe is, you old ass motherfucker who should retire. So yeah, I think when Scottie does those little moves, he looks like Earl Monroe. And someday those shots are going to go in and you're going to eat your words and you're just going to look like an old man that's just ugly and stupid and just hates himself. Because I think that's part of the problem is you hate yourself. That's why you hate so much. Why are you hating on Scottie? There's no reason for it. And fuck off, Doug Smith, and boycott the Stars. What I'll say. Oh, yeah, there you go. Boom. Mike's here. Logical Raptors fanatic has checked in and shown up with us. I was wondering if you're going to show up this morning, Mike. Salute the real ones, Project Truth always. That's right, Doug Smith. Project Truth, you old ass motherfucker needs to retire, bitch ass motherfucker. Yeah. Canadian Cowboys saying Lex and the Freaks. Is this off topic? But have you seen the Jurassic Punk documentary? I did know a Canadian from Ontario was such a big stepping stone in the movie industry. Let's go Raptors. I have not seen this and I don't know what this is, Bradley, but I will have to find out and hear about this Jurassic Punk documentary. All right. I know that they have the Grizzly Truth documentary that's coming out. So maybe there's two documentaries I need to see about the two Canadian expansion franchises from 95. So yeah, Jurassic Punk. All right, I'm going to look that up. Space Cadet saying this is like a World War III going on in Josh Liu's tweet. There is like a World War III going on Josh Liu's tweet. All right, I'm going to go look at this right now. You're going to get a live reaction of me looking at the World War III going on at Josh Lewenberg's Twitter. All right, Josh Lewenberg, I find him okay most of the time. He doesn't bug me. Let's see what's going on. This is like in the comments section. I'll have to figure this out. Yeah, people are probably just going crazy back and forth on Fred. It seems like what's going on here. Listen, everybody's going to have some sort of crazy ass opinion and stuff like that. As Raptor freaks, we just got to stay positive. Think about what's best for the team and the winning and getting more Larry O'Brien's down the road and just work towards that. Other people are going to be working against that by saying blow it all up and just being very negative and critical and stuff. But as long as we're the force of good and this whole thing, like a Twitter war on Josh Lewenberg's tweet, and we can be the voices of reason and good, that's good. I don't know where to find that right now or I would react to it. I don't know which tweet it is. Mike's saying the thing is 10 days signed on January 6th gives 9 days till they decide if Doughton gets converted on January 15th. I saw a 10-day window and expected this, not gonna lie. Okay, yeah, Mike commenting on Joe getting signed yesterday to a 10-day contract. And yeah, we'll have to see if he actually gets a real chance. This could be something like, whoa, we brought this guy in just to see, and then like nothing goes anywhere with it too. That could be a big part of it too. Cowboy saying, true, nameless. Hope you had a great birthday. Also, everyone hit the like button. Let's go. Raptors over everything. That's right. Go Canadian Cowboy. Ta-da. Go call Ta-da in the book. If you need some help with carpet cleaning, window washing, something moved in your house, maybe some painting, Ta-da is in the phone book. They can help you out. This is a service in the 416 in Toronto. Call nurse. Yeah, I called them already. Called them. It was fun. All right, Tom's saying, contrary to popular belief, Fred VanVleet isn't failing the Raptors. The Raptors are failing him. Josh's tweet. Ooh, that's what he said? Okay. And I can see that in some ways. It's like both ways. And there's a lot of argument and sussing it out. I know who did this, and I know who it is. His name starts with an N and ends with an H. Yeah, I know who did it. And we need to go find him and take care of him. And that will be the sacrifice that we make to the altar of the Raptor, that we need to sacrifice the Noah system. Monique saying, where are you happy with the Bogan comparison about Joe? I said it. Now that's just me. Now I always get confused which Bogdanovic people referencing. Are you referencing Atlanta Bogdanovic or are you referencing Detroit Bogdanovic? Because in some ways they're different. Now to me, I think this guy's more likely to be like Atlanta Bogdanovic than Detroit Bogdanovic, because as Dwayne Casey has said about Bojan in Detroit, this dude is on the level like Julius Randle. Like he thinks he's a really big time scorer like DeMar DeRozan. Whereas like the Atlanta Bogdanovic, he's kind of more of a off the bench kind of scorer guy. So I would think he's more like the Atlanta Bogdanovic than the one in Detroit. But I did like that comparison when you made it yesterday. I did see it yesterday, Monique. G saying, oh, he tweeted that? Haha, he knows that will get people talking. Yeah, maybe he just wants some more traffic. Josh Lou's being a little controversial and saying something Raptor fans won't like. I like you saying it. I'm saying, who cares who's failing who? We just having problems. No more finger pointing. Let's just get all together and get out of it together. There's no reason to turn on each other. That's the biggest problem right now is people want to turn on people. They want to point fingers. They want to go after people, and it's not the right thing to do at this point. And the best thing is the fans may not know it, but the players do. They're not pointing fingers and coming after each other. Maybe silently in their heads, or maybe thinking, this or this, but it's not manifesting into reality amongst them. They very much do support and love each other and have the best intentions for each other. And in fact, that's a testament. In some ways, the weathering the storm of the Tampa season and the relocation to Florida was tough. Well, the weathering the storm of finger pointing and doubt and like bad things during a losing season is also very tough to weather. And we may be having huge success behind the scenes because our players are very much bought in together, and they do still believe in each other, even things are so dark. That in some ways is success. That we could go through a really bad season where most teams would fall apart and start blaming each other and getting on each other's cases. Well, that's not what they're doing. They're very much still together and intact. At least apparently it looks like that. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe there's success being found because we're really like solidifying our nucleus because they're going through a hard time and they're learning trust that like, look, things may go bad, but at least I know they're not going to start pointing fingers at me or I'm pointing fingers at them. They're all together still. And I think that's a big part of it. He's not sure I love it. Drama seeker. Yeah, you know what? Josh is kind of putting the conversation out there. It's already out there. And I think that, all right, if he was coming at it with his first statement being kind of like full of shit, like Doug Smith's comments, then I'd be pissed at him. But he's kind of bringing it at it like kind of absolving Fred of some things and luring Fred haters to there for him to kind of school them on the reality of the situation. So in some ways, I don't have a problem with what Lou's doing there because Josh Lewenberg is kind of like baiting the rat trap with cheese and letting those ratty, shitty ass Raptor fans come at him, and then he's setting them straight. So I'm all about that. G saying clearly he tweeted that to get a rise out of the fan base. It's apparent losing brings out drama. Just hope all this drama doesn't carry over when they start winning again. That's what I'm saying. This could make us very, very, very powerful. In some ways, this is what's helped the Warriors. They've gone through the same shit in the last couple of years. And did they lose faith in each other? Did Clay and Steph start turning on each other? Did Draymond start turning on people? No, he just punched out Jordan Poole. But otherwise, they kept it together. They didn't point fingers at each other inward. That when that happens, teams are in trouble. And that's not what's happening. All right, Canadian Cowboy saying ref report. Yeah, we'll have the ref report tomorrow. Van Hoot saying all Philly and Villanova guys play with that edge. I call it a taste. They have some form of moxie. Yeah, they were talking about that last night. Alvin talking about Villanova with Jalen Brunson. And this is very true that like Kyle Lowry Bulldog edge from the city of Philadelphia. Sometimes it does have to do geographically with where you're from. New York players have a certain edge to them in a different way than players from Chicago. There's different players from different places have different kind of feelings to them and different ways about them. And I agree with this. There's definitely a moxie and an attitude with the people that come from that area, in particular, Philly. And maybe that is something we put into factor. Is this person from a Philadelphia area? Those are tough players, Bulldog. Mike saying, I talk on the offense issues a bit in my drop. I explain the poor shooting from others in basketball terms. Good. That's cool. Seymour saying is Zach Edey draft eligible. Ooh, that's a name that I love to hear and would be very fun to have on the Raptors. Yes. I love what you're thinking, Seymour. I think he was he eligible last season? I'm not sure what's going on with Zach. No, he was declared, but then he re-declared back to play another year at Purdue. So that's what it was. He may be. I don't know if he's coming out this year. Is he? I'm not sure. He's on Team Canada. He already plays for Nick Nurse, so he's a known quantity. And it may be that may be like he knows enough about him. And so that may like tell us whether he wants him or not. It may be that Nick's like, yeah, he's not going to work with us, but he's great on Team Canada. So who knows? I don't know. I like the idea of Zach Edey playing for us, though. I think he would be interesting, and he could be a very good, useful, big man for us. Okay, Monique saying W Stream Lex, let's go Raptors, always despite the outcome per usual. And so many Raptors emoticons. Thank you, Monique, for putting the whole team on there. I love it. We need all of them to show up and play better. Stay positive, everyone. Stay positive, everyone. Yes, Monique, you are a beacon of light in the dismal, dark place that the Raptors fan nation's in, and keep on shining. Just keep on shining. You are a leader among all of us that helps us stay positive. Cowboys saying, let's go. Raptors only. Please, positive vibes. Let's go. Let's go. I love it. Tom Duke's got all kinds of emoticons, crazy emoticons here. Let's go. Go Raptors. Have a good one, Freak family. Thanks, Lex. Yeah, we're just over 3 hours. I should wrap it up. Seymour saying, until we get that X beside our name claiming we're out, then I want them fighting. So you're saying we have a chance. I can get behind this attitude for real. You never say die. And it's exactly what Gary Trent did the other night against Milwaukee. You never say die and make it happen, even if it's 15 points and there's only a minute and a half to go. Make it happen. And Mike's saying, I did a 3-hour rambling game stream, sauced and tossed. It wasn't pretty, but I wanted to test how things would be. Woke up late. I did see you were on live last night during the game, Mike, and I popped in for a very brief second to hear what you were saying. And it was a weird place where you were at. I think you were talking about food at the point when I was on there. I was like, what's going on with Mike on here and stuff? And I did see you were on there for a very long time last night. I don't know, live streams are weird, man. I can tell you from doing 3 hours right now. Cool Cat saying, I'm back again. Good to see we're all supporting each other. She left and did stuff down the street. Maybe she went to the store and she's come back and I'm still on. This happens to people on the stream from time to time. I think it's interesting that like the 2 losses we've had, these last 2 losses, they've been 3-hour streams afterwards. So at least we're here and we're talking about it and we're getting it all out. But yeah, I'm going to finish it up really soon. Race Mode's here. Logical. Laugh out loud. I was there. So Race Mode was watching you for a bit. I don't know. I may need to go and review a little bit of your stream from last night, Mike, just for fun. I can only imagine the way you ramble sometimes, just where it was going. Seymour saying, not gonna lie, Logic, I peeped it too. So everybody's kind of checking you out, getting your views up a little bit. Monique saying, I believe Zach Edey is eligible, Seymour, Atlanta Bogan. You're talking about Atlanta Bogan. Okay, that's what I thought, Monique. Yeah, he would be more like Atlanta Bogan for sure. They're about the same height, same body type in some ways. So I think that's a very good comparison. And yeah, Zach Edey should be eligible this year. Yeah. Let's see. Mike saying respect Race Mode and Pape for checking it out. It was extremely messy and tangent full. I'm working on format still. If you could do streams during the game, that's fun. In some ways, I wish I would do it, but I'm too much on a time delay that I can't do it in a way that's effective. I would really enjoy being able to do it in the right way if I could do it in real time with you guys, but I can't figure out how to make the delay work in the way that it'll make it work. Name is saying, what an amazing freakathon today. Thanks so much, Lex. Appreciate you a great deal. W Stream. Thank you, Nameless. You are one of the most off the chain, wild, positive Raptor freaks, and I really do appreciate you. Raceway was saying, Lex, I missed the show today. Can you do a recap? Just kidding. Edmund, hilarious. Shocked to see you still going at 12:30. Keep up the positive Raptors content. Let's go, freaks. There's a lot of counseling and a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to go over and to understand about what's going on with our team. And yeah, I appreciate that, Race Mode. I could give you a synopsis. We blame the Noah system, and we're going there with torches and axes, and we're going to hack it out of the side of the OVO wall, and we're going to throw it into the Lake Ontario. Yeah, that's the recap of our stream basically today. Cool Cat saying, I'm taking my lead from Pascal. Stick together, no finger pointing, no blaming. Exactly. That is the most important thing about anything the Raptors are doing right now. Listen to your leader, Pascal. No finger pointing, no blaming each other. And it sounds like the leaders that are in charge, like Fred and Pascal, are living that to a T. So hopefully that is filtering down to every single person on the roster right now. There's no reason to start finger pointing or anything. And even pointing fingers at Nick, even though Nick's got to get something going. Paul B's here. Raptors got the next W. Yes, Paul B. Keep it going. Yes, I want to beat the Trailblazers tomorrow. Hell yeah, I do. I want to beat their ass. Blackhawk saying losses build character. I'm interested in how we get better from them without trades. I know it sounds like counterintuitive when I describe this, but it really is kind of like experimental with like lineups, trying the right combination. This is something they said last night, that they just need to keep trying different combinations to see what's working in different situations. And there's just not enough good stuff that's getting tread for us to take off and get W's right now. but it could be that Nick does a winning combination in the next couple games, and boom, there's an epiphany. And all of a sudden, everything gets a little bit more easier for the Raptors because they figured something out that they hadn't figured out yet right now. And that's the way it could happen without making a move. Is it's really something just gets figured out and makes it easier. It's as simple as like an idea of this is like Scottie's low post stuff, going to it earlier, opening up everything for the whole entire game. It could be something as simple as that. That they didn't do it last night like they could have, and they should have done against Milwaukee. But if they do it and they find it and they discover it, and boom, everything gets easier, then it starts snowballing into other good things are happening as far as we're making a higher percentage of our shots. Our defense can work less hard because we're actually keeping up. You know, it very much is. Our team is like a football team that has a super good defense, like the Ravens, but they have no offense. Like their offense is absolute shite. And they can hold the team to hardly scoring any touchdowns, but they don't get any help from the offense. You know those kind of football teams. Well, we're the kind of the equivalent of that in basketball right now. It's so crazy. Like I've never seen it like that in basketball, really. Like because offense is so important in the sport that you have a defensive-minded team that just has no offense and they can't win games because you know the defense can play perfect, play absolutely badass, but they let the other team score a field goal and they won 3-0. You know, it's something like that. It's crazy. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Lion Hunter. I appreciate that. I appreciate you, Tom Duke. Name was saying I did have a great birthday, Cowboy. I was gifted with a PS5 as my birthday. Oh my gosh. I am so jealous. I'm so jealous. Although I don't need to be wasting my time on there too much. I have so much I have to do already. And I know it would draw so much from other things that I already do. So yeah, but that's fantastic to hear you got one. I want to get one just mainly because I want to play the newest Grand Theft Auto when it comes out. I really love that game and the whole open world concept of it. And when it gets to new levels of the next level of Grand Theft Auto, I just want to come in and see how they've updated it from the one before and just seeing how immersive that whole world can be and how much bigger and what you can do, the new stuff, like you can go work out and eat food and stuff. It's always a change. And it's really that game that makes me want to get it because it's just like, to me, in some ways, it's the best virtual reality. In some ways, it's kind of weird. I know you can wear the glasses and do it all like perceptibly like that. But in some ways, Grand Theft Auto is like the very first virtual reality in some ways, like the beginnings of it in around the turn of the century. So yeah, really interesting. Cowboys saying, thanks, Lex. You're a fucking man. You're a great leader. Keep preaching. Let's go, Raptors. Let's go, Raptors. Yes, I love it. Seymour saying, I want to get my hands on a tractor to tear down the Noah. Yeah, let's get a tractor. Let's go down there like hillbillies with clubs and torches and a tractor, and we'll rip the side of it. We'll rip it off the wall and drag it to the Sunnyside Beach and kick it into the ocean or the lake. I guess I should say. Yeah, that's hilarious. All right, guys, let me finish up. I've been on way too long. I appreciate everybody being here for 3 hours with me, talking about the Raptors and their woes, because we've been running through the six with my woes. You know how that shit goes. You know how that shit goes. And we need to change it, yos. And let's get that Noah system, just blame it. All right, anybody's going to blame figures, you're going to start saying Nick Nurse this, Masai Ujiri this, Fred VanVleet this, Pascal Siakam this, Scottie Barnes. Tell them Noah. Tell them to blame the Noah system and just make the shit up. I mean, seriously, they may find it so comical and funny that you blaming the Noah system, but it actually kind of makes sense. The argument I'm making about it making them too much in their head about their shot because it's so detail oriented and really right on top of them about the numbers and stuff. And maybe they need to just get back to nothing, telling them nothing and just going by feel. Mike say, Lex, I was talking on the crazy thing that happened with Dunk. The crust and pizza and pizza dips are only really popular here from VC. VC created pizza crust dips popular in the thing. Yeah, I think that was what you were talking about at the time when I popped in. I was like, okay, he's talking about pizza stuff. I was like, what is this? Yeah, you go, Mike. You try your new things and stuff like that. It's all good. Thank you, Monique, for the congratulations. And congratulations to you for hanging in here and being here with me. I appreciate every one of y'all. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Everything helps the channel in little bits and ways. I really do appreciate y'all being the real ones. And this makes, like, honestly, this channel is a saving grace for me in some ways. I think I would be way more depressed by myself on an island as a Raptor fan right now if I didn't have the ability to come here and talk it all out with you guys. So really, really appreciate you guys. And I hope that you guys find the same thing from coming in here and just kind of commiserating a little bit about it and just getting it all out. and like talking about it and exploring it. It kind of makes it feel better, and also kind of gives us hope. It gives us ideas and things about the future, like talking about possible draft prospects, or talking possible about like what is possible with what can happen with us in a positive way going forward. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Tomorrow, preview for the Portland Trailblazers game here in Toronto on Sunday afternoon. And I appreciate every single one of y'all. Y'all go with your Saturday. Just have a nice day. And once again, I love you all so much. I appreciate y'all so much. And let's go Raptors! Yes, race mode. Yes, cool cat. I love you guys so much. Thank you. Let's go.